Today, we're going to be talking about some of the finest horror experiences the FNAF fan game community has ever produced. From incredible atmosphere to relentless tension, to unforgettable scares that linger long after you've finished playing, these games showcase horror at its absolute best. Some of these rival the greatest horror games ever made, so let's get into it. Five Nights at Freddy's games don't scare me. Even the jump scares never typically get me to scream, shout, quiver in my boots, and defecate my britches. However, the game I'll be covering today did. Not only that, but this game, this masterpiece, is probably one of, if not the coolest Five Nights at Freddy's fan game I've ever played. Today, I'll be covering their return to Bloody Nights. Released in 2023 on Game Jolt by Kazovsky, it serves as a prequel to the official Five Nights at Freddy's series, taking place before the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 2. So you already know this game is about to be packed to the brim with lore, and after hearing that, I really begin to quiver in fear, because covering lore makes me want to drop cheeks on my desk and quake my entire house. I personally care much more about gameplay. Can't enjoy the story if the game itself is worse than shitting in a public school bathroom. So let's jump right into the return to Bloody Nights. I'm sure I won't lose my mind, even a little bit. Starting up the game, we're greeted to an opening cutscene, where we can see Spring Bonnie playing a tune and getting his jiggy on. We appear to be inside a Freddy costume, and given when this game is taking place, I can only assume that this is either a Golden Freddy suit or a Fredbear suit. Looking around in the suit, I noticed literally Satan chilling in the darkness. Sup, Satan?
Hi.
And shortly thereafter, we're thrown into the menu. The return to Bloody Nights has the typical Five Nights formula, with a difficult sixth night at the end. Split up into days of the week, it gives it a bit more character, which also makes sense. When a girl asks you what day it is, you don't say the fourth day, you say Thursday like a normal person. But all you little freak geeks probably respond by instantly jeebing in your pants because a woman has never spoken to you before because you're chronically online. Don't lie. We all are. Nothing to be embarrassed about. Jumping into night one, we first have to wait for a phone call to play out between Henry and William. Since this takes place before the official games, it can only be assumed that at this point in time, Henry already had his restaurant, and William was currently working on his own. Before every night, we get a phone call just like this. Henry checks up on William's progress with the animatronics. William talks and makes me incredibly uncomfortable. Seriously, the voice actors in this game did an amazing job of playing the parts. Oh, and I can't forget my favorite part, getting to hear Henry tell William that safety comes first about 800 times per phone call.
I want to make sure that our establishments are safe for everyone who comes through our doors. I still want you to take your time with the project. Rushing things could lead to mistakes.
But I do need to move quickly if we're going to open in time.
I know, but please keep safety in mind, above all else.
Honestly, if I was William and I had to hear Henry tell me the same thing a million times, I probably would have killed those kids too. Moving into the office, we get to listen to yet another phone call. Holy shit, I'm gonna tear my pubes out. I know this game is more focused on lore, but holy shit, I downloaded the game to play it. If I wanted a story, I'd get a visual novel. In all honesty though, the in-office phone calls are actually also great. Again, the voice actor did an amazing job playing the part. He tells us about the restaurant, whatever the fuck. Tell me about the robots, bro. That's what I'm interested in. Night 1 introduces Spring Bonnie. I'm sure you could have guessed. This game takes place in Fredbear's family diner. We play as a guy named Scott, which I might add is probably the whitest name of all time. Spring Bonnie does exactly what you think he does. Starts on the show stage, shimmies around the cameras like he just sprayed some cologne in the air, and brings it around town to your right side office door. It's at this point where I should establish how the doors work in this game. You'll notice that there are no lights. However, you do have a flashlight, so you can flash that puppy into the doorways to see what's there. However, you'll notice that your flashlight doesn't illuminate the entire doorway, so you'll have to move your flashlight around to actually see the full picture. It's also because of this that we get my favorite part of this entire game. Oh my fucking god! Holy shit! Oh my god, that was fucking cool as shit! Oh my god, bro. Holy shit, that was awesome. The moment I saw this, I thought to myself, yep, for sure. This game's getting a white video. The fear in my voice in that clip was genuine. I know a lot of creators on this site like to fake and hype up their reactions because it makes good content, but if you watch my second channel, Dxtr Black, you'd know that all of my reactions are real. So not often will you catch me getting scared like that, but hot damn was this cool. As I'm sure you could guess, when you see Spring Bonnie in the doorway geeked out of his mind, you need to close the door and wait for a sound cue letting you know he's left. With only one animatronic, I'm sure you could guess that this night is incredibly easy, so let's move on to night 2. Night 2 introduces Fredbear. He acts the same way as Spring Bonnie, except he attacks the left door rather than the right. Since that's pretty boring, let's talk about the cameras and why I think this game does animatronic movement correctly compared to other games. Something I've noticed in a lot of FNAF games is that characters have a path. No shit, that's how it's always been. But you'll notice in most games that this path is very basic. For example, I move from camera 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and then arrive at your door. Very basic. This game and a few others do something really cool. Rather than just appearing in one camera and teleporting to another, the characters in the Return to Bloody Nights will instead have multiple phases on each camera, kind of like Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's 1, wherein, if you're watching the cameras, you will see Spring Bonnie, for example, go from the show stage to standing off of the show stage, and then he'll transfer to another camera, and in most cases, each character has at least 2 phases on each camera that they enter, which really gives a feeling of realism to the game, as it seems like you actually get to see the characters walking around rather than just teleporting from camera to camera like most Five Nights at Freddy's games. Another game that pulls this off really well is A Bite at Freddy's, a FNAF fan game I've covered on this channel, and you can watch my review of it after you finish this one. It's a fantastic video if I do say so myself, which I do. Anyways, on to Wednesday, which introduces 3 new threats, those threats being, hold on a second, 3 new threats in one night? Did I read that right? Hold on, let me check. Oh my god. Yeah, that's right. 3 new animatronics become active on this night. God damn. Talk about going from 1 to 100 in a fraction of a second, good lord. Well, let's start going over them, shall we? Starting with the least infuriating of the 3, we have the puppet. An area of your office I have yet to mention is the prize corner, which is directly behind you. Here you will be able to see prizes. Who would have thought? This is also where you can see a bunch of fun references like Sonic, FNAF, Cuphead, and a bunch more. I had a lot of fun pointing out as many references as I could while playing, which you can see in my full playthrough on my second channel, Dxtr Black. The puppet has a chance to appear at any time throughout the night behind you in the prize corner. It doesn't move through the cameras, so there's no way to predict when it's going to attack. However, thankfully it does play a sound cue that lets you know it has appeared behind you, telling you to get off that computer call and kiss it on its hot mouth. When you hear this bell jingling sound cue, you have to quickly whip around and find it in one of 3 locations with your flashlight. Once you find it, it'll quickly hide away like a bitch and you're free to continue. The puppet is really never a problem throughout the nights, acting more of an annoying distraction than a real threat. But now, I get the misfortune of talking about the other 2 threats that this night places in my anus. So let's cover the spawn camping dickhead Fredbear 2.0. Fredbear 2.0 doesn't appear on the cameras. Instead, he appears right outside of your right door. That's where he starts. Yeah, he begins the night already outside of your door. And that's the furthest away he'll ever get from you. Isn't that just the worst thing you've ever heard in your life? I think I'd rather be diagnosed with butthole cancer. Fredbear 2.0 has multiple phases before his actual attack. You'll have to constantly flash your light in the left doorway to check his progress, which takes your attention away from a crucial character you need to watch on the cameras, whom I will talk about in a moment. As he gets closer and closer, you'll get to hear him talking right in your fucking ear, which is a pain in the ass because I'm trying to listen for movements and bell jingling at the same time. So I'd really appreciate it if you'd hop off my cock. When Fredbear 2.0 gets to your door, he will crouch down to try to get in, which, by the way, looks crazy cool. I love animations like this in FNAF games. It adds so much life to them. Something you'll notice about Fredbear 2.0 in comparison to the other animatronics that attack your doors is that he appears to linger at them for much longer than the others. You wouldn't be crazy for thinking that either, because he does. When Fredbear 2.0 crouches down, he won't instantly enter your office like Fredbear and Spring Bonnie do. Instead, he'll wait about 8 seconds before actually attacking you, giving you time to check on the puppet and Mr. Dickhole, who I'll be covering next. That may sound like a nice gesture. Aw, he's giving me time to worry about my other problems. What an emotionally intelligent guy. No, this guy is a dick. Something I should mention is that there is no power system. However, there is generator heat. What causes the generator to go up? That's right, using your doors. No matter how much you think you're going to be able to consistently time out when Fredbear 2.0 is going to attack, I promise you that you'll get it wrong a few times. And because you know that you're going to get it wrong, you'll probably feel inclined to play it safe and close it sooner than you technically need to. And this is where he gets you. Because even if you close the door early, his timer still has to count all the way down before he attacks, leaving you with your generator heat increasing while that dickhead just stands there like a dunce for half a century. On later nights, you'll be getting attacked pretty frequently, so having this guy waste even a few seconds with your door closed can be the cause of a run to end later down the line. Alright, I can't put it off any longer. I need to talk about the most infuriating character in this entire game. Spring Bonnie 2.0. Spring Bonnie 2.0 acts much like the original, slowly creeping his way through your cameras until he can reach your office. But there's something interesting to note about him. While he's on the cameras, you can see that he's covering his face often, almost like he's playing hide and seek. And the reason for that? It's because he literally is playing hide and seek. When his robot AI was being designed, they made a hide-and-seek function that was meant to be used to play with the kids, but instead it's being used to play with my ass like a bongo drum. That doesn't sound too bad, Dexter. I think you're overreacting. No. Bullshit. No, I'm not. Unlike Spring Bonnie, Spring Bitch 2.0 doesn't appear in your doorway. Instead, he'll just pile drive in. So the key is to watch the final camera he appears on. He has 3 phases in this long hallway, the final of which has him close up and personal to the camera. Once you see him there, he will run out of frame, and you need to quickly close the right door before he busts in and then busts in you. Wait! Before you type in the comments how I'm bad and that this isn't a hard mechanic at all, ooh, it's basically just Foxy, Dexter, you little bitch boy. Shut the hell up. That's what I thought at first too. However, there's one tiny little tweak that makes him worse than a hangnail that just keeps peeling your skin back the longer you pull on it. Unlike Foxy, who, when you look at him in the hall, his animation starts playing and then you close the door and the cycle continues. Simple. Nope. Not Spring Bussy 2.0. He's different. When you look at him on the cameras in his final phase, he won't immediately play his animation like Foxy does. Instead, he's kinda like Fredbear 2.0 in a way, where he has a timer for when he'll actually attack, bringing up the same issue as Fredbear 2.0, where you'll probably end up closing the door earlier than you need to and building up your generator heat. Mixing these two characters together is gruesome. Introducing them both at the same time, on top of another character that demands your attention consistently, downright vile. I'd rather stick my willy in the exhaust pipe of a running motorcycle than deal with these two douchebags ever again in my life. There is one final threat I have yet to mention, but because of the strategy I used to beat this game, I actually never encountered them, that threat being the Golden Cupcake. According to the wiki, he only appears on the 3rd night. Amazing! Fuck 3 threats introduced at the same time, why not 4? He has a chance to appear on any camera, just acting as a visual annoyance. To get him to move, just switch to another camera and he'll disappear. I'm guessing because my strategy only had me using 1 camera throughout the entire night, it never gave him a chance to spawn. I'm not totally sure, and again, the wiki says he's only active on night 3. Why not nights 4, 5, and 6? I don't really know. This character seems like a weird inclusion. Let me know in the comments if you know more about this little guy. Hey there, Future Dexter here, coming in to inform you with some much needed corrections for something I mentioned earlier. I made a whole big point about introducing Fredbear 2.0 and Spring Bonnie 2.0 at the same time. Apparently I'm retarded. Fredbear 2.0 isn't introduced until Thursday night. I apologize. I don't know how I got that so incredibly wrong. I probably just remembered how ass I thought that duo was together and misremembered them being introduced at the same time. I don't know. Again, I apologize. Let's get back to the goon session. The remainder of the nights are just more difficult variations of each other. No new characters are introduced. Something crazy you'll notice, however, is the incredible spike in difficulty after Wednesday. Who would have thought being bombarded by AIDS can do a real number on you? This is actually the most common criticism I've seen of this game. The difficulty curve isn't a curve, it's a steep cliff that you're at the bottom of. I recognize why people feel this way, but guys, I was able to beat it. You know, the guy that's actually probably the worst FNAF player of all time. If I did it, you can do it. I promise. Oh, something I decided to not talk about was what happens after each night. Every time you complete a night, we're put into a cutscene where Scott, which again is our character, is scanning the animatronics for paranormal activity. I'm not sure what the name of the device he's using is, but this is what he's doing. I know that because I know how to use context clues. Also because the wiki told me that's what he's doing here. Remember those phone calls I talked about at the beginning of the video? If I want to cover the lore, it's important I talk about those phone calls a bit more. I know. Ugh, Dexter's talking about the lore in a game. He's really bad at that. He's only funny when he's talking about the gameplay. I know, trust me. I'm gonna try my best though, because the story in this game is honestly really, really cool, and I want to share it with you all. I don't want to be like some other game reviewers who tell you to just play the game for yourself to learn more. You're watching reviews to get a review. If you wanted to play the game, you'd just do that. You don't need me telling you to go play it. Night 2's phone call reveals that William has gotten a divorce, and apparently some of the workers are concerned that he's drowning himself in work. Henry tells him that safety comes first. Thank you, Henry. I would have never fucking guessed. Wednesday's call, William begins to brag about his new child-friendly animatronics. These animatronics he's talking about are Fredbear 2.0 and Spring Bastard 2.0. William reveals he's been studying child psychology. Uh-oh. In this day and age, there's only one direction this could be going. Just kidding. This isn't Dormitibus. It's not about to get weird. Afton claims his divorce is taking a toll on his mental health, but he's focusing on work to distract himself. Henry opens up about his feelings like a man never should. Some bullshit about how his only child Charlotte means so much to him, blah blah. Who cares, bro? I'm building fucking robots. That's way cooler than your lame-ass kid who can't even wipe her own ass properly. Thursday's phone call reveals that William wants to distance himself from his two sons and focus more on Elizabeth. I also noticed in this phone call that Afton seems a lot more passive-aggressive. Looking back on it now, that probably has something to do with his mental health. But while I was playing, I was rooting for William during these calls because of how sick and tired I was of Henry mentioning safety for the 200th time in a row. Additionally, on Thursday night, we learned that the diner is being shut down due to the disappearance of 6 children. I wonder who could have done that. Friday's phone call gets dark. Henry's daughter fucking died. RIP! Afton doesn't really seem to care. I'm with you there, William. Afton mentions he has to do something, and Henry tries to tell him to not do anything that might have negative consequences. William brushes this off as it seems he's too far gone. I'm assuming that these things that need to be done are the killing of the 6 kids. It's then around this time that William stuffs one of the kids, Cassidy McKay, into the Fredbear 2.0 suit and leaves her to rot inside Fredbear's family diner. Isn't it crazy how fucked up FNAF games are? I often forget how disturbing the actual story is when I'm making videos about these games. After the completion of Night 4, Scott scans Fredbear 2.0, and unlike the other characters scanned previously, the machine we have starts to go nuts when scanning Fredbear 2.0, likely because of the body of Cassidy inside. After the completion of Night 5, we get a monologue from William, explaining how he killed the kids and framed Henry.
It has been many years since the incident that changed everything. I have done unforgivable things since then. The missing children. It was all my doing.
We get the reveal of Circus Baby and hear about Elizabeth getting ganked by her. After the completion of Saturday, we get a cutscene of who I can only assume is Elizabeth, talking about needing to guide the other victims. I'm assuming Elizabeth because of how Baby guides throughout Sister Location, although I could be wrong on who this is. Finally, if you complete this game's max mode, you get one final cutscene, displaying William dying in the Spring Bonnie 2.0 suit, which is in 2D rather than 3D like the rest of the game for some unknown reason. And with that, that's all the Return to Bloody Nights has to offer as far as I'm aware. Overall, I really liked this game, but I can understand why a lot of people don't. Sure, it looks really pretty and the story is amazing, having us play as the phone guy from FNAF 1 and 2, but I think this game focuses too much on story and not enough on gameplay. Sure, the Game Jolt page does say it's primarily about the story, but I can still understand why people dislike the gameplay loop for being too repetitive and difficult, even though that's how most FNAF games end up panning out. I'm pretty sure the community liked Post Shift 2 more, which that game is just brutally difficult and confusing for the sake of being brutally difficult and confusing. So I guess that tells you where the community really is, where some appreciate Post Shift 2 over this game in terms of gameplay, which is wild, I will add. So the new official Five Nights at Freddy's game has come out, Into the Pit, a 2D side-scroller the likes of which the series has never really seen, unless you count the mini-games from the other games, but I'm not gonna count those. I've recently played through the entirety of the game, and let's just say I have a lot I want to talk about, both good and bad. Also, Megacat Studios, the crew that made Into the Pit, emailed me and offered to send me some free Steam keys for the game. So at the end of this video, I'll be doing a giveaway for 3 free copies of Into the Pit. Stick around to the end for more details. I don't want to waste any of your time, so let's just hop right into Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit. Let me just begin by saying, after the absolute fucking dumpster fire train wreck that was the Security Breach games, I did not have high hopes for the future of Five Nights at Freddy's. Maybe I'll cover those games in a different video where I can go into much deeper detail as to why I despise them so much. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. I did not go into this game with high expectations, but after completing it, I have to be honest, for a good 80% of the game, it's actually really, really good. Like, really fucking good. I actually had a really fun time playing this game, even through my frustration. I should mention that I dislike the style of gameplay that Into the Pit goes for, that being the walk around doing task simulator while enemies randomly patrol and chase you when they find you. I personally dislike that style of gameplay, but I wasn't going to let that stop me from trying my best to enjoy it. And again, for the most part, I really did. Let's just jump straight in, beginning with the prologue. In Into the Pit, we play as a kid named Oswald. He's a pudgy, scared little bitch loser, and nobody aside from his family likes him, I guess. There's this whole subplot in this game about him being bullied, but it's not really expanded on more than having a kid say, "Haha, you're fat, Lamau," so I really don't think I need to go into it a whole lot. Oswald's dad used to work at a mill in the tiny little town that they live in, but at some point the mill got all fucked and his dad doesn't work there anymore. Nowadays, Oswald's dad takes him to the local pizza place during the summer, Jeff's Pizza, while he goes to do, you know, whatever it is dads with hot wives do that don't have jobs. What the fuck do you want from me? I don't know. While Oswald is at the pizza place, he eats pizza. No shit. Probably why he's fat if this is happening every night, which seems to be the case. And most of the time, his dad comes to pick him up way later than he originally promised. One night, Oswald is fed the fuck up and decides he's going to go into an old room with a pizzeria and hide in the ball pit to scare his dad as revenge for picking him up late again. Nothing like being the most petty individual on earth, am I right, guys? Up top. When Oswald jumps into the ball pit, he emerges to find himself years in the past before Jeff's Pizza was, well, fucking Jeff's Pizza. Instead, we learn that it was previously a Freddy Fazbear's location. Now's a quick time to mention that this game is based off of the FNAF book Into the Pit. I'm sure you knew that, so if you're familiar with the story that book tells, then this is gonna seem pretty redundant to you. Getting out of the ball pit, we walk around and find Bonnie pelvic thrusting at a group of minors. Very appropriate, thank you Bonnie. And eventually find 2 kids, Chip and Mike. Chip and Mike quickly become our friends and start to show us around. Oswald is a little fucking idiot and has no idea what's going on, but decides to follow Chip and Mike as they show him around. They take us to a skee ball machine where we play skee ball. I don't know what else you were thinking we'd do at a skee ball machine. Afterwards, we all decide to play a game of hide and seek. We choose possibly the worst hiding place I've ever witnessed in my whole life and climb inside of an animatronic suit. This choice right here is another reason I'm adding to my list of why children are the dumbest species on the face of the planet. While in this suit, out of nowhere, and with no warning, Springtrap quakes his ass into frame and makes some of the most disgusting noises I've ever heard in my 20 years on this floating rock. And yes, I know this is technically Spring Bonnie at this point, but I'm not gonna call him that. And I know you don't want me to call him that either. It's Springtrap, eat my taint. As soon as Springtrap walks away, we hop out of the suit to find that the entire restaurant has spiraled into pandemonium. Kids are screaming, lights are flickering, I'm pointing and laughing, and Springtrap is on a fucking rampage. We run around looking for Chip and Mike when we see Springtrap off inside of a room. We follow behind him and see this. Gross. But hey, we get to see Springtrap walk away with an ass so caked up, I think I need to grab myself a slice. Nah, who am I kidding? I'm a little fucking glutton. I'm gonna grab the fattest clump of that rump. Following him into the next room, we see something that I never in a million years thought we would have ever gotten to see. Opening a door, we see what I can only assume to be the 6 dead missing children. Holy shit, I gotta talk about this real quick. I think this is something the series needed after they chose to continue after Pizzeria Simulator, which, by the way, I think was a mistake. Showing the actual scene of the missing children after 10 years of hearing about it is so cool. Even though you only see their legs, it's somehow still incredibly satisfying, like we're wrapping up a storyline. Even though we all know William's story is going to be run into the ground for the next 5 years at least. We quickly run out of the room, sharting and pissing our pants, and vault back into the ball pit, coming back out into Jeff's Pizza, where Jeff and our father are waiting for us. Our dad comes to take us home when Springtrap hops out of the ball pit and grabs that fucker, yanking his crank back into the ball pit. Oswald grabs his dad and pulls him out, and we learn that Dad has become possessed by Springtrap. At least now there's a reason to call him Daddy, with his fat yellow rabbit ass. He forces us out of the pizzeria and back home, never saying a word. This is when the prologue finishes and we get launched into the first night. The way this game is set up, it has us performing tasks to progress the night rather than just surviving, which I'll admit is definitely a fresh of breath air for the series. Our first objective is to call Mom. I'm going to mention right now that I'm not going to explain each and every little detail of how you're meant to do things. This video would be like 3 hours long if I did that, and I don't want to make my editor Link blow his brains out. We go to the fridge to get Mom's number and go to Dad's room to grab his phone, but there's a small problem. Springtrap is laying on our parents' bed, preventing us from grabbing it. This is where we learn a very important mechanic in this game: making a fuck ton of noise. There are several objects around the environment that you can interact with in this game to make more noise than a terrorist attack. I'm serious, these things are really fucking loud. When you cause loud noises like this, Springtrap will run to the room the noise came from to check it out, much like he does in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. You can use this to your advantage to force him to go places and then, maneuver around him all snake-like. It's also at this point we learn another incredibly important mechanic: hiding. It's exactly what you think it is. There are several places in the game where you can hide from animatronics, and a lot of them have little mini games you have to play to not blow your cover. To get Springtrap out, we blow up a sewing machine or something and hide in a closet. When Springtrap leaves, we enter our parents' room and grab our dad's phone and call Mom, telling her there's something wrong with Dad and that she needs to come home immediately. Just a note, Oswald's mom is a nurse who works very long hours. We meet Mom in the living room and tell her what we've seen and that, again, something is wrong with Dad. Just then, the fat fucker himself waddles in, but of course, he no longer looks like Springtrap, and it appears that nobody besides us can see his glowing eyes. Mom basically tells us to fuck off, and we're left on our own. This is where we really start the full gameplay loop of this game. When the night starts, we have to find a unique way out of the house while avoiding Spring Daddy, and then make our way out to the pizzeria, jump in the ball pit, and search for our dad. Each night you'll have to find a new way to get out, and instead of going over each one every night, I'm just going to tell you each way that you can do it right now so that I don't have to do it later. The first way is just by walking out of the fucking door. Who would have thought? Another way is by going into the basement and grabbing some rope, heading up to the attic and climbing out of the window. Then another night you can grab a ladder from the attic and slowly, monotonously, and painstakingly walk it to the basement and use it to climb out of the window. And finally, using a screwdriver to open Oswald's window and climb out. Hooray! Let's keep it moving. Going back to Jeff's Pizza, we hop into the ball pit and soon find a kid stuck in a fucking endoskeleton. I know this isn't a literal horrifying sight, but damn, this game is showing more than I thought it ever would, and I like it. We decide to help this stupid child, but we need a screwdriver in order to open the suit. We know there's a screwdriver in the basement, but it's locked because God hates us. We exit the ball pit and talk to Jeff, who says he'll give us the key if we dump his trash. After doing so at the mill where our dad used to work, we take the key from Jeff and unlock the door. Back through the ball pit, we use the screwdriver to let the kid out, and Springtrap decides he's had too much to drink and needs to hit something, and we just so happen to be the closest living thing in sight. We quickly run back to the ball pit and escape. The next day just so happens to be our first day of school, so we grab our lunch and go to school. While at school, we watch a kid commit arson and detonate an illegal explosive in the middle of the playground, and that's about all the substance we get from this school day, but that bomb kid will be important later. Speaking of, we go find that kid after school and ask him for a firecracker, and he says that he'll trade us one for something cool, and that we'll be able to find him at the library after school every day. Walking outside of school, Oswald uses his Skibbity toilet Riz to talk to a girl, who gives him a notebook filled with a bunch of Freddy Fazbear related material. And I'm sorry, I don't really have the energy to dive into the lore of this game too much, and I'm pretty confident that if you're watching FNAF review content like this, you're already pretty familiar with the story of FNAF. Talking about the lore would just add so much unneeded time to this video, and again, I'm trying to keep my editor from taking an entire bottle of prescription pain meds. After talking to the girl, we go back home and it's time for night 2. After escaping the house, we head back to Jeff's and jump into the ball pit. When we enter, the lights to the building fuck themselves and we're taught to use a breaker to reset them. Thank you, game. Another mechanic based on randomization. I bet there won't be 500 more of those. While looking around for our dad, we walk into the kitchen and see Chica poking around and being a little stupid fat ass. She jumps us and we run off. This is where we learn Chica's interesting mechanic. Chica will walk around the building randomly. If she sees you, unlike Springtrap, rather than chase you, she'll instead scream at the top of her lungs, alerting Springtrap to your location. It's not really that bad, so I'm not going to complain about her. Yet. But I promise, later in the video, I will. While running away, Oswald fucking trips over absolutely fucking nothing and drops his lunch, which I guess he didn't eat at school. Chica walks over and eats that bitch. This is a great time to mention another super awesome and totally not random game mechanic. While running, Oswald can just randomly topple to the floor, and he loves to do this while he's being chased. And then he loves to face fuck the ground for 5 minutes instead of getting his fat ass up. I hate life all the time, constantly. We know that Chica the Fat loves food more than starving children, so to distract her, we decide to go to Jeff's to get a slice of pizza. We talk to Jeff, who says, "Fuck you, pay up, bitch," but we're broke as a joke, so that isn't gonna happen. There's a lady in the pizzeria who says she hates rats, and earlier we picked up a rat trap. I didn't mention us picking up the rat trap, but that's because you pick up a whole bunch of random shit all the time, and I don't want this entire video to be me going, "And then we picked up the rat trap, and then we picked up the token, and then..." I'm not gonna do that. That's annoying. I don't want to tell you everything that we interact with. We go back to the pit and use the rat trap to catch a fat ass rat and take it back to Jeff's. We release the rat next to the lady, which distracts Jeff, and we can sneak our way into the kitchen to get some pizza. We head back into the pit and use the pizza to lure Chica out of the kitchen. Once inside, we find Mike all curled up in a cupboard. We head back to the entrance of the pizzeria with Mike, and we ask him where Chip is, but our conversation is rudely interrupted by a rabbit thicker than Judy Hopps. Mike ditches us like a bitch, and we run back into the ball pit and escape. Time for night 3. We head to school that morning and get bullied by some random kid I don't care about. He slaps us in the face with a sticky hand and a teacher takes it from him, and we decide that we want it, I guess. Why? Beats me, who fucking knows? We have a panic attack in the classroom and our teacher sends us to go get her book from the principal's office to calm down. But the Tina Belcher looking ass principal decides she's gonna be and tells us she locked herself out of her office, and it's now our responsibility to look for the keys. We find them and she lets us into the office where not only do we grab the teacher's book, but also the sticky hand she took from the bully earlier. Why the teacher said it in the principal's office instead of her desk or something, I'll never know, but that's not important. Moving on to the night, after escaping the house, we head back into the ball pit to look for Chip and our dad. Before we do that, I really want to mention that there's multiple endings to this game. I'll briefly mention all of them towards the end of the video, but I'll be covering the true ending throughout the bulk of the video. Really couldn't think of a better point in the video to mention that. I'm really shitty at writing scripts, as I'm sure you can tell. But
Basically, as you go through the game, you pick up a bunch of random technology, and you can use those pieces of tech to repair the arcade machines in Jeff's Pizza and play minigames to earn tickets. With those tickets, you can earn prize vouchers, and in order to get the true ending, you need to repair all of the machines and get all the prizes. These minigames themselves are boring as well, and would be boring as hell to cover, so I'm just not going to do that. Just know that repairing all of them is important. Anyways, back into the ball pit we go. We decide that we want to look for our dad in the arcade, but fuck us. The arcade is locked because this is a horror game. We used the sticky hand we stole from the school to slap a vent, which for some reason had the key to the arcade in it. Does it make sense? Not at all. Am I gonna question it? No, I'm too tired to care, my guy. We unlock the arcade and walk in, only to find Bonnie tying Chip up to the side of an arcade machine. I didn't know Bonnie was into bondage, and if I wasn't so obsessed with Springtrap's big fat patty whacker double-decker freshly baked cake, I'd probably be really into it. We run out of the room and figure we need to find a way to distract Bonnie so we can save Chip. We notice Bonnie didn't have his guitar, so we decide that we'll play it, since the notebook we got from the girl at school mentioned never to try to play his guitar. We know we saw his guitar in the back room, but that was also broken as fuck. We head back to Jeff's and ask him about guitar strings, like that stoner would know anything about that. No, fuck that, he's an idiot. We go to the mill to dig through the trash for guitar strings, and lucky us, there were some. Mazel tov. Oh yeah, also the bully was there, but I don't care, that's not very important. Going back into the ball pit, we repair Bonnie's guitar, hook it up to a speaker on the stage, and play the most atrocious song I've ever heard. Wait, no, scratch that. Jojo Siwa makes music, and that shit is miles upon miles worse and makes me want to hurl. This pisses Bonnie off, and now we're free to go into the arcade. We untie Chip and ask him about our dad, but then Freddy's juicy ass walks into the room, and we all bust it down and freak out, quickly run, and plunge into the ball pit. Rah! Night 4 time, bitches! But first, it's time for school. But first again, I need to mention that while in your attic, you can find a Freddy mask. This item is very important. I should have really mentioned this earlier, but again, I'm abhorrent at script writing. I don't know what you want from me. Going back to school, we find the stupid, useless group of bullies, and that's when Oswald starts hallucinating like he was smoking meth, and the bullies turn into animatronics, with Bonnie, yet again, pelvic thrusting at a child like he didn't just get off of probation. Oswald kicks the shit out of one of the bullies and runs away, canonically revealing that he can be convicted of a hit and run. Oswald says, fuck this, I'm just gonna go to the pit and finish this. But before he does that, he does go to the library and trades the Freddy mask from the attic for a firecracker from the kid from day one, if you can remember that. Which I'm sure you do because you're more obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's than you are eating. We now head back to the pizzeria and decide we need to check the office. I'm just now realizing as I'm typing the script that I forgot to mention Bonnie and Freddy's mechanics, so let me do that real quick. Bonnie can hide in most hiding places that you can. You'll be able to faintly see him in one if he is. If you try to hide in the location Bonnie is in, he'll toss you like a salad and eat it from the back. Freddy, I'm gonna be real. I don't really know how he works. I've tried looking it up, but I literally can't find an answer. I'm pretty sure that he can just be at a door you try to enter, and if he is, then he'll spook you. It literally never happened to me other than the one scripted time that it happens, so I really can't say. I know it has something to do with doors though, I'm pretty sure. Someone please tell me his mechanics in the comments. I really want to know. Anyways, we go to the office door, and as we go to open it, Freddy busts like a nut out of the door, but luckily for us, we have an explosive weapon that we illegally obtained, and we blow that fucker up and blind his ass. While he's in a state of shock, we enter the office and find another fucking kid. Are you serious? I couldn't give less of a damn about this stupid ass kid. Whatever, I guess we'll help her. Springtrap is being a bitch, so we use the cameras in the office to find where he is, and use one of the many noise-making machines to lure him away. Going back to the office, we find that the girl is now gone. God damn it. We check the cameras again and see Springtrap taking her to what I can only imagine is a sex dungeon. Absolutely foul. We chase after his ass and find that he put the girl in the freezer in the kitchen, but the handle is locked and we need to find a way to break it. Instead of grabbing the hammer that's conveniently placed on the wall in the back room where we got the screwdriver, we instead decided it'd be a better idea to break a cartoony ass wooden hammer off the arcade machine and use that instead. Whatever, I guess. We use the hammer to free the girl from the freezer, and who would have guessed, Springtrap chases us while drooling, looking at our ass quake as we run away from him. And we jump back into the ball pit. So much for ending it tonight, huh, Oswald? Anyways, night 5, let's finish this shit up, huh? Today we say fuck school and just head straight to the ball pit, but fuck, the door is locked. We go to Jeff to ask why, and he says someone's been breaking in. Wonder who that could be. We get Jeff to give us the key, and as we walk out of his office, Springtrap gawks at our jiggling cheeks again, and we run into the ball pit. The only room we haven't gone into yet is the room where Afton cranked some sick 90s on those kids, but the door is locked via a keycard. We figure it's somewhere in the back room, but fuck us, Freddy and sex offender Bonnie are blocking the curtain, so we have to take the long way and go into the vent to get into the back room, where we find a pile of dead animatronics, and amidst the pile we find the keycard, and then we use the keycard to open the door. I don't know what you thought would happen. Going inside, we find another random girl. Oh my goodness, where is my goddamn dad, dude? She tells us she heard some snoring coming from the vent, and Oswald immediately knows that it's his dad because he's a lazy fuck who sleeps a lot, I guess. I don't know, dude. I'm tired, man. We call through the vent, and lo and behold, we find our dad knocked out in a chair. We untie him and then hear Springtrap coming, so we hide in the vent. Springtrap drags our dad out of the room because we haven't yet reached our runtime threshold and need to pan a little bit more time. We run back to the ball pit and find Springtrap strangling the shit out of our dad. We punch his ass in the face because I want him to be choking me like that, and we quickly throw our dad into the ball pit and follow after him. Back at Jeff's, Springtrap jumps out of the ball pit and gets caught in some of the netting and just gives up, I guess. He like moves a little bit, but then he's like, oh no, I'm done, dude. Dad and us walk outside, he apologizes or whatever, and boom, game over. After post-credits, we watch Jeff go into the ball pit and get fucking murdered by Springtrap. I know I said I was covering the true ending, and I will be, but I think this ending is really funny, and probably the most common ending people get. So, what are the other endings, and how specifically do you get them? Let's start with the leave ending. If instead of helping the kids stuck in the endoskeleton in night 1, you just walk out of that bitch, the game ends and you get the leave ending, which I'm pretty sure is actually called the see ya dad ending, which is actually the first ending I ever got. Moving on to the bad ending, if you collect none of the special dad items throughout the game, when you reach the final Springtrap section, when you and your dad make it back to Jeff's, Springtrap will jump out of the ball pit and grab Oswald, dragging him back in, and Oswald wakes up in Springtrap's bondage dungeon, and only God knows what happens in that awful place. The Jeff died ending is the ending that I first covered. Obviously, and to get it, you need to collect all 5 of your dad's items in the Fazbear location. They're not hard to find, and when you rescue the girl on night 5, she'll drop a strange picture. You'll need that as well. To unlock the true ending, this one is a doozy. You need to collect all 5 dad items, the strange photo, repair all the arcade machines and win all of their minigames, and complete the 3 secret minigames, those being Count the Ways, Fetch, and To Be Beautiful. You can unlock Count the Ways by interacting with the candy machine by the employees only door a whopping 100 fucking times, which takes like 5 minutes. It's really fucking stupid and I hate it. You can unlock Fetch by collecting 100 tickets from playing the arcade machines and trading them in for 5 vouchers, then interacting with the prize machine a few times. And finally, you can unlock To Be Beautiful by calling your mom while standing next to the candy machine. Does it make sense? Of course not. Was it fun? Not even a little bit. Do I regret doing it? A little bit, honestly, yeah, but whatever. After doing all that and saving Dad, instead of Jeff going into the ball pit room and dying, Jeff's pizza suddenly becomes packed, and everyone has a good time enjoying pizza. Hooray! Now, what if I told you there was a secret ending that's not very secret and is actually super easy to get called What Am I Ending? Yeah, there is, and it's really easy. After saving your dad, if you fail the QuickTime event with Springtrap, you'll appear on stage and all of the animatronics will be waving at you. As you walk to the end of the party room, Springtrap will greet you and your eyes will begin to glow.
What makes a horror game truly scary? Is it jump scares, atmosphere, build up? Well, of course, all of these things together and more is what builds up a horror game to be something amazing. But I think if I had to choose one word to answer the question, what makes a horror game truly scary, my answer would be realism. In order for your game to be truly scary, I feel like the player has to be able to connect with your game on a personal level. And what better way to make that happen than to make the environment around them feel real? The game we'll be talking about today, I feel, pulled this off almost perfectly. A Five Nights at Freddy's fan game that was able to capture the real feel of an office, an environment, and realistic means of self-defense in a situation that seems so dire you'd think you'd never be able to make it out to tell the tale. The game we'll be covering today is Freddy's Reanimated, the most realistic FNAF game ever made. Reanimated does not begin like most FNAF games tend to. This game opens to a dark void. We're told that when we die, we will be brought back to this void and that we won't be remembered. However, if we are to be remembered, what is the name we'd like etched into our headstone? And it's here where we can actually choose a name for our character. Afterwards, we're booted into the menu where we can begin the game. As the game begins, we're given a pretty eerie opening cinematic, something pretty uncommon with Five Nights at Freddy's games. It serves to show how we found the job online on a listing site to work as a security guard for 5 days in an abandoned pizzeria. Fantastic! I know myself personally would never accept a job that I know for a fact won't even last a week, but hey, different strokes for different folks, I suppose. With that, we're thrown into the first night where I can talk about hands down one of my favorite parts about this game. Loading into the office, we're hit with something crazy. This game looks real. The office looks like an actual office, with objects placed around that actually look like they should be there, not just a random assortment of items like we typically see in FNAF games. And the sound design is amazing. This game looks real, it sounds real, and I think that's one of the big reasons why people love this game so much. It tries to feel real. Watch for when he's closest. He can be tricked easily. What the fuck does that mean, bro? Holy shit. Oh my god. What the fuck? This looks sick. Of course, like most FNAF games tend to do, we have a phone call on each night to listen to. Instead of the usual where the phone guy at least sounds somewhat like they know what they're doing, the phone guy in Reanimated sounds baked out of his fucking mind.
Speaking of which, the only reason we have a security guard job right now is because the place is being demolished soon. So we don't want any funny business going on at night.
He tells us the basics of our camera. Who cares? That's my job. What he does say that's actually of note is that the building we're in has been abandoned for over a decade. And the only reason we're watching over it now is because the building is about to be demolished. And for some reason, they're concerned about funny business going on because of that. I have no idea what funny business is supposed to mean. My first guess was people breaking in to steal something, but then I thought, well, that doesn't make sense. People could have been stealing from this place for the last 10 plus years. Why would they all of a sudden decide they needed to do this now? Maybe it means graffiti, but the place is being demolished, so who cares? This is such a weird thing to latch onto, but I just feel like it's strange to mention this now. And it does actually bring up a good question. Why would you hire someone to guard a building that won't exist in 5 days? But you never hired a guard for the past 10 years that it was abandoned. It almost makes you wonder if they were expecting something to happen. And maybe that's why they're demolishing it. Before I get into any of the characters, let's talk about the controls of this game and the 3 tools at our disposal. You can only look in 2 directions in this game, at your computer and at your door and window. Something super interesting about this door is that it is actually just a door, which is pretty scary in a game like this where your doors are mainly known as your only means of defense. You can pull the blinds of your window down if you want to, and when I first found that out, I was reasonably concerned as to why. I see this right here, and I know this game's about to be fucked. I know this game is about to be so fucked, dude. It's just a normal fucking door. Bro, these motherfuckers gonna open the shit out of that thing. And we'll get into why in just a minute. But first, I really want to talk about the cameras and why they serve to be one of the most difficult things to deal with in this entire game. Upon looking at the cameras, you'll realize there's no typical camera map and buttons. Instead, there's just arrows at the bottom of the cameras that you can click to move from one camera to the next, fairly slowly. This is brilliant in two ways. With the realism approach that this game is taking, looking at the surroundings, we can tell that this game takes place a pretty long time ago in 2013. We can tell this because of the confirm window at the beginning of the game being Windows 7 and the fact that the game tells us. But I just wanted to seem cool by pointing out that I knew what the Windows 7 UI was. Shut up. And yes, 2013 was a long time ago. I know for some of you it may not feel like it, but it was 12 years ago. That's older than some of my audience who, let's be honest, really shouldn't be watching my videos. Mom and dad, monitor your kids, fuckhead. Knowing this and knowing that the game is aiming to be realistic, opting to use a slow, outdated system like this is genius, even if, yes, I think it's AIDS and very annoying. However, once we start talking about the way this game plays, I'll bring up why I think the way these cameras are set up is needed. Anyways, on to the reason why I think this is as annoying as it is. Mainly because it's not consistent in one way that I would expect it to be. There are 9 cameras in total to surf through. When you reach camera 9, if you press the forward arrow again, you will be sent back to camera 1. That makes sense. So, what do you think happens if you press the back arrow while on camera 1? If you said you go back to camera 9, you would be completely wrong because the back arrow doesn't even fucking exist on camera 1. Why is this the case? I have no idea. If it was consistent either way, this wouldn't bother me, but you can cycle in one direction and not the other. And yes, this is noticeable and it does matter. Now we can finally talk about the first threat this game throws at you. I'm sure you could have guessed who it is. That's right, it's Chica. I lied, it's Bonnie. Of course it's Bonnie. Surprisingly, each character in this game attacks you in a unique way. Even though we only have 3 tools, this game somehow manages to make each character vastly different from one another, and I think that's amazing. Bonnie's main goal is to sneak into your office. He will move around the cameras until he gets to your door. And when he gets to your door, be ready. Close that motherfucker! Oh my god. Dude, literally fuck that. Literally fuck that. The moment I saw this, I knew that this was getting a Dxtr White video. And even the people in my comments over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, knew that this game was getting a white video. I actually had another video lined up for this week, and I've chosen to postpone it so that I could talk about this game first, since I love it so much. It's moments like these that FNAF games need. Once Bonnie is at your window, all you have to do is hold down your blinds until you hear his big fat feet galloping away. Not an overtly difficult character to deal with, but really paves the way for what the rest of this game has to offer. Luckily for us, there's a post-night minigame section after each night that we get to talk about. But hold up, Dxtr. Don't you usually hate post-night minigames? Yeah, typically I do. However, this game's post-night minigames don't make me want to shove a porcupine in my asshole backwards. There's no repetitive 8-bit minigames, and again, what we're doing in these minigames still feels realistic. After completing the night, we get another call from the phone guy. He asks us before we head home to go into the storage room and find an old computer, which we can use to upload some old pictures and footage of the building to the cloud. He says he wants to upload some of the interesting stuff to his personal blog, which I'm sure violates some sort of contract, but who am I to care? I break the law all the time. For example, if I was in the UK, I'd probably be arrested on the spot because of the language I choose to use. Anyways, something I think is cool is that we actually get to walk into the back room. We don't just miraculously get placed there. This will become important later, by the way. After walking into the storage room, we can access the computer and start uploading files to the cloud. You'll notice that you can turn to the exit of the room. For now, it's unknown why. After waiting for ages for the upload to finish, we walk out of the storage room and finish out our shift, moving on to night 2. On night 2, we get another call from the phone guy, where we find out that our player is actually trying to do something about the fact that the characters are moving. Apparently, we sent an email to the phone guy explaining that we saw Bonnie moving. We called him the creepy rabbit, which seemed to frustrate the phone guy a little bit, to the point he corrected us on his name.
Oh yeah, and that creepy rabbit you were talking about, he has a name. It's Bonnie.
Sure, this could have just been playful, but I get the funny feeling it's not. The threat introduced on this night is Chica, arguably the least threatening character in this entire game. Chica will randomly wander around your cameras, and she has the chance to charge at your door from 2 of those cameras. Except the difference with Chica approaching your door is that closing the blinds will not stop her. She can attack on cameras 2 and camera 4. You can tell when she's going to attack based on the position she's standing in. On camera 2, she'll be very close to the camera, and in camera 4, she'll be on the very left side of the camera. When she is in either of these 2 positions, you will need to use the flash button on your cameras to flash said camera and scare her away. You may be wondering why there's a flash on these cameras. That's not very realistic, and Dxtr, you told me this whole game was realistic. And now hear me out. Usually I'd agree with you, but I want you to take that concern like a boomerang and launch it as far away from you as possible. Night 2's post-night minigame has us go back to the computer in the storage room to fiddle with the power system. Now this you can complain about because I have no idea what the hell that is supposed to mean. And actually doing the task doesn't really answer anything either. We are shown a series of sliders that we have to quite literally fiddle with. Apparently doing so will reset the power. How do you tell you've put the sliders in the correct spot? Well, you just have to do trial and error. Move one slider a single place, press reset, and if it turns red, change it again. This is very monotonous. If only there was something else on this night to cure my boredom. I don't want to look back. What did I tell you? It's moments like these that really make these FNAF games stand out. To any future FNAF devs, do cool shit. Your game does not have to be stupidly hard to be memorable. It just has to do cool things. And this is some of the coolest shit I've ever seen. While looking at the computer, Bonnie will slowly try to creep closer and closer to you. You will have to look back at him lest he shoot his Jeep juice all over your spine. You can actually watch him walk backwards while you look at him, almost like he knows you've noticed he's moved, and is attempting to readjust himself so you go back to looking away. What the fuck? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my fucking god! Did you see that shit? Motherfucker just crip walked back, he moonwalked. It's honestly some of the creepiest shit I've ever seen come out of a FNAF game, and I love it. After completing this minigame and turning towards the door, you'll realize that Bonnie has gone away. Obviously getting bored of you because you're boring. So all we have to do now is walk out of the building. You want me to walk out that motherfucking door? You honestly want me to walk out that fucking door? I mean, I'll do it, but fuck. Oh my fucking god! This game is fucking awesome, by the way. But now it's time to move on to night 3. On night 3, the phone guy says he got another email from us because we told him that Chica was now moving too. He said that in case anyone else starts moving, we should use the flash, because they're probably not used to bright lights. Again, I find this weird coming from him. And come to think of it, why would any of the animatronics from any FNAF game be sensitive to light? They're always on stage where bright lights are beaming on them almost constantly. So I just find it odd how much the phone guy seems to want us to do this. He ends off the call by stating he wanted to tell us a story, but he's out of time. Maybe we'll hear that story another day. For now, let me tell you the story of Sparky the dog. You remember, the hoax character that was said to be in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 way back in the day? Yeah, for some reason he's in this game. And he's the threat introduced on night 3. His mechanics are simple, but really start to show how annoying this camera system is going to become. Occasionally, Sparky will bark. When he does, he will be teleported to a random camera. You will have to find which camera he's on and flash him. Am I a huge fan of this mechanic? No, not at all. And I'm really not a fan when I have to meticulously scrape through each camera one by one. Overall, so far, it's not going to be all too bad. Keep your eyes on Chica, find Sparky every once in a while, and occasionally hold the blinds for Bonnie. Simple sugar, not so bad. But trust me, it'll get bad pretty damn fast. After completing the shift, we get another call from the phone guy. He tells us the cameras have been acting strange, and that we should use the computer in the storage room to reset them. He also curiously mentions that he has remote access to the camera system. So that brings up the question, why the fuck are we even here? If someone else is able to watch the cameras in the safety of their own home, where there aren't a bunch of murder robots trying to butt fuck them, who cares? Let's just finish our shift and head to the storage room.
I'll see you on the flip side.
I'll see you in the grave, asshole. So let me tell you a little something. Oh my fucking God! I love this game. I don't know if that was obvious or not. Entering the storage room is when we enter by far the most difficult minigame section in this entire game. I'm not kidding. We're tasked with literally just holding a button down on the PC. Once it charges all the way, we'll reset a camera and move on to the next one. However, when you let go, the bar will very quickly decrease. That may not sound so bad. It would only be bad if we had a certain purple distraction trying to blow our backs out now, wouldn't it? What the fuck? What? Bro, he's fast as shit. Bonnie is the sole reason why this minigame is so AIDS. Bonnie, for some reason, thought that today was the day he was going to take the Rock Lee ankle weights off and show us his true speed. Bonnie is so astronomically fast during this minigame, it's not even funny. 3, 2, 3. Oh my motherfucking God. Oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God. Can I break his knees? You have maybe 2 seconds of time to look at the screen before he kills you, so you have to be fast. And what adds to the difficulty of this night, the hitbox of the progress bar you have to click and hold. Swiping your mouse back and forth to check on Bonnie, then moving back to the computer is insanity. And when you come back, you have to hold the position of your mouse on this tiny little progress bar and continue to hold. But you can only hold for maybe 1 second before you have to turn back around to Bonnie and wait for him to walk all the way back to the door. And keep in mind, the progress bar is decreasing every time you look away, so you're really just fucked. And once you complete a camera is when you notice you have to fix 3 more. And if you ever die to Bonnie, go back into them all over again. Fuck you. This minigame took me around 30 minutes to finally complete. It's unironically the second hardest canonical challenge in this game, and I would love to have to never do it again. But one more interesting detail about this minigame. The final camera you fix briefly shows Foxy in the camera. Oh boy, I hope that's not foreshadowing or something. After completing that hell, we don't have to almost get touched by any robots on our way out and are free to move on to night 4. The phone guy calls us and fucking rambles about some bullshit I don't care about. He says that there was an ancient civilization that archaeologists found, and those researchers were later haunted by handprints of the ancient civilization. Again, I really don't give a fuck. This is purely symbolic for the story of the game, which I'll talk about later. But this was the story he was itching to tell us. I would rather itch my balls than hear him talk about that again. The threat introduced on this night is Foxy. Spoiler alert, the camera was foreshadowing something. Foxy acts exactly how you think Foxy would act. You have to look at him to stall him, and if you don't, he'll run to your office. But as I'm sure you could have guessed, he too doesn't care about your door. Watching him will push him back, so just make sure you're doing that. Something of note is how Foxy breaks the cycle you've been really trying to build up throughout the game, forcing you to develop a new one. Up until this point, watching Chica has probably been your main focus. But now with the character that demands even more attention, I'm sure you could figure out why Foxy will put a big wrench into your plans. Now you have to find a way to constantly watch Foxy and Chica. And lucky us, Foxy is on camera 6, several cameras away from Chica's attack cameras. This game knows what it's doing. Sure, it's frustrating, but it's also genius. In this post-night minigame, we're told we have to fix a ventilation problem. Phone guy tells us it's just turning a few knobs. The ventilation room is in a door right off of the storage room, so the storage room is where we go. I don't see anyone yet. Hi, Bonnie. Were you expecting me to go there? Were you expecting to cut me off? Sorry, asshole. Not gonna happen. Is that not horrifying? Bonnie is standing right next to the computer we've been going to every night. He's starting to remember our patterns, getting to the computer before we can in hopes that he could jump us. But lucky for us, the computer is not where we need to go this time. Entering into the ventilation room, we have 6 knobs in front of us and 2 large vents to our left and right. Pretty reminiscent of the office from Pizzeria Simulator. I wonder if anything is going to come through those vents to try and kill us. Silly little viewer. Of course there is. This minigame's threat is Foxy. Throughout the minigame, Foxy will make quiet sound cues in whichever vent he's about to attack from. When you hear him, all you have to do is turn to stare at him until he goes away. Meanwhile, you have to painfully slowly turn these 6 knobs, which will take a very long time. Because as you get closer to having them all finish, it seems that Foxy will attack you more and more frequently. After completing this task, we can leave with no other funny business taking place. Finally, we're left with one last night. One last thing standing in our way, and this game holds no punches in introducing it. Before you is something long forgotten. Something that was once loved and cherished, but now it lies broken. It is left abandoned. You know what becomes of something long forgotten. It dies a second death. It grows cold. It is unmoving. But what if some things don't wish to be forgotten? Do you know what happens when something refuses to be forgotten? It becomes angry. Anger is eternal. Anger grows, it festers, it burns, it writhes, and then it finally happens. It is given new life. It returns to us. It haunts us. However, it doesn't return as it once was. It returns as something else, something unrecognizable. Through its anger, it is reanimated. And with that, we're given one final message. The flash slows him down. Godspeed. When I first read that message, it gave me chills for some reason. It's like just by reading that, I knew what I was about to experience. Absolute agony. We get another call from the phone guy. He explains his reasoning for why he thinks the robots are alive. He thinks they're angry that they've been forgotten about and left abandoned for years, and he couldn't be more right. Night 5 introduces Freddy. Holy fucking shit, Freddy. Freddy is by far the most dangerous character in this entire game. When Freddy moves forward, he will never move backwards. And once he gets to your office, it's over for you. Yo, get the fuck away from that fucking door! You get the fuck away from that door! What? Oh, fuck, dude. Freddy is a dick. Raps. How do you stall Freddy? By using the flash, of course. When you flash Freddy, he will cover his eyes. Something interesting to note is that Freddy is the only character to be animated on the cameras. Such a small detail, but a detail I think is really cool. If you really want to make sure Freddy doesn't move, you'll have to time his intervals, since they don't vary, and make sure you're onto his camera and flash him at quite literally every single opportunity. You don't have much time to waste, as Freddy is fast. Really fucking fast. I don't quite have the vocabulary necessary to describe how intense this night really is. And if you get bad Sparky spawns like I often did, you could easily spend hours on this night. I was lucky enough to only have it take me a single hour. But if you manage to control your nerves long enough to complete this night, we will have one final minigame to talk about. After completion, we get one final call from the phone guy. He very ominously tells us to enter the dining room. He says he wants to show us something. Upon entering the dining room, we're greeted by all 5 animatronics staring back at us. The camera to the dining room flashes, and we hear the phone guy, named Ralph, explain that the reason it flashes is so that you can take a screenshot of the camera. Ow! Oh! Oh! fuck? See? That's why I told you to make it a boomerang. Ralph then used that image to post on his blog. He's been using these camera images for his blog all week, and we were the bait. One last goodbye is said, and the restaurant goes quiet. The gameplay of Freddy's Reanimated is incredible. There's no doubting that. This game, of course, has a custom night with 3 additional unlockable characters, the first of which being Bon Bon, who's actually a reference to the game Freddy's Web Adventure. Pretty cool. Occasionally, he will appear on your cameras. If you don't click him fast enough, he will disable all of them for the remainder of the night. The next character you can unlock is called the Hawk. He acts as a Phantom Chica-like character. He will periodically appear on the cameras, blocking the view, and if you don't turn away from him, he will kill you. Pretty simple, but in a game where the cameras are super important, this guy can be a big pain in the ass. Finally, the last character you can unlock is Sienna, by far the most cancerous of the Custom Night 3. She will occasionally block the clock next to your door, which somehow prevents time from passing. This is a Custom Night character that can drop the realism at this point. All you have to do is click her nose and she will go away and the time will continue to pass. Altogether, completing a custom night with these 3 additional characters is a torture I would never want to put myself through. But shout out to Dark Ryun who was able to pull it off, and whose footage you're seeing right now. I should mention that the custom night does have a secret ending, but I'll bring it up when I talk about the story of this game, which, you know, we'll do right now. The story of Freddy's Reanimated is honestly one of the most surprisingly thoughtful pieces of writing I've ever seen in a FNAF fan game. It's not about murder or purple men or endless timelines that make my brain feel like fucking mashed potatoes. It's about being forgotten, and about what happens when something that used to bring people joy is left to rot and fade away. The entire game is built on this theme: nostalgia, decay, and the quiet horror of being erased from memory. Freddy's Reanimated takes place inside Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, a restaurant that's already dead by the time we get there. It used to be loved. Kids laughed, parents smiled, the animatronics performed, and everything was fine, until it wasn't. Over time, the crowd stopped coming, the lights dimmed, the laughter stopped. The building was abandoned and left to gather dust for over a decade. No massacres, no missing children, just nothing. The kind of death most things really suffer. When the game starts, we're told the place is finally being demolished, and Ralph, the manager, hires a night guard to keep an eye on the place for the last few days. That's us. But before us, there was another guard, Mike Schmidt. Yeah, that Mike Schmidt. He worked one night, just one, and didn't make it out. In the demo of this game, we actually see what happened. Mike survives until 6 a.m. The power cuts, and Freddy himself storms into the office and literally bites his head off. No mystery, no cover-up. It's brutal, it's direct, and it sets the tone for everything that follows. When Ralph brings us in months later, he acts like none of that ever happened. He's casual, a little too calm, and gives us these half-baked instructions that sound like he's either high out of his mind or hiding something. He keeps asking us to do these little tasks: fix the power, upload old files, check the cameras, all while brushing off the fact that the animatronics are moving. Every night, our character emails Ralph describing what they saw, and every night Ralph dances around the truth. He never says, "You're wrong," but he never says, "You're right" either. It's like he knows what's going on, but refuses to say it out loud. Then, finally, on the last night, Ralph tells us a story. The story he's been dying to share. He says that back in the 1940s, archaeologists discovered a cave covered in human handprints. The people who found it were haunted by those same handprints for the rest of their lives. Like the dead were reaching out just to remind them they were still there. And Ralph thinks the same thing is happening to Freddy's. He believes the animatronics are moving because they refuse to be forgotten. That after sitting abandoned for over a decade, their anger, this pure, desperate rage, literally reanimated them. Not out of vengeance, not because of possession, but because of memory. Because they were once loved and then left behind. It's such a fascinating take. The idea that these animatronics aren't evil, they're afraid. Afraid of fading away. It's one of the first FNAF fan games I've seen that makes you feel sorry for the monsters chasing you. They're not killing you because they want to, they're killing you because they don't want to disappear. After you survive the final night, Ralph asks you to head into the dining room. He says he wants to show you something. When you enter, all 5 animatronics are standing there, waiting for you. It's one of the eeriest visuals in the entire game. Completely still, completely silent. Ralph activates the camera flash, and the screen freezes in a burst of light. Then he says,
I finally figured out what the flash button does. It lights up the room so that you can take a screenshot of the camera you're looking at. I finally have more recent images for my blog.
And that's when it hits you. The whole time, we weren't protecting the building, we were the bait. Ralph was using us to get the footage and screenshots he wanted for his personal blog, to turn the remains of this haunted restaurant into online content, the same way we, as players, chase nostalgia. Ralph chases it too. He's obsessed with documenting something that's supposed to be gone. After everything, the building is demolished. Ralph's posts about it online, sparking renewed interest in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. People remember it again. The animatronics, those same restless spirits that didn't want to be forgotten, finally get what they wanted. They are remembered. And then they rest. The player gets their paycheck. The story ends not with a scream, but with silence. It's such a powerful way to close things out. Freddy's Reanimated isn't about surviving animatronics. It's about the fear of being erased. It's about what happens when the world moves on and leaves you behind. Even the custom night ending reflects that idea. Mike Schmidt's death is written off as a bear attack. Just a tiny headline, nothing more. And Freddy Fazbear himself, lying in the rubble, surrounded by everything that used to be alive, now just forgotten scraps of metal. For a game that's meant to be realistic, it's ironic that the story is one of the most human I've ever seen in this genre. Freddy's Reanimated isn't just the most realistic FNAF game ever made, it's one of the most real stories the community has ever told. Would you like to hear one last interesting piece of information I have to share? There is a secret in this game up until this point. As far as I'm aware, nobody has ever found it, and I can guarantee you've never seen it before. A secret so rare that the chances of finding it exceed luck that no human has ever had. And I want to thank City, the author of the FNAF fan game wiki, for providing me with this information and allowing me to share it with you guys. We know that Michael got bitten and killed by Freddy, but did you know you can actually see Michael's corpse inside of the game? You just have to be incredibly lucky. To start, you must have already beaten the main game. No custom night completion is necessary. Then you have to restart the game from night 1. Before completing night 3, you will have to die at least 5 times. Then, upon beating night 3, when entering the hallway, there's a 1 in 10,000 chance to see the corpse. Slight gore warning, by the way. This is probably the most realistic looking gore I've ever seen in a FNAF game. If you can pull all of that off and get more lucky than any human on Earth, this is what you will see in the hallway. Truly some of the scariest shit I've ever seen. But there you have it. That's everything as far as I'm aware that Freddy's Reanimated has to offer. Overall, this game is one of the coolest experiences I've ever had since starting this channel. I don't think this game is nearly my favorite. I think I like Juniors and Banshee just a little bit more, but it's definitely close. The atmosphere, the sound design, the game design are all borderline perfect works of art. When you think of the typical Five Nights at Freddy's game formula, what usually comes to mind? Well, probably being stuck in one spot, unable to move, having characters bombard your doors, and only having a small amount of tools you can use to defend yourself. Occasionally, we'll find a fan game that introduces an interesting new mechanic, And of course, every now and then we find a free roam FNAF game that really, most of the time, feels like its own game that just uses FNAF characters. The game we'll be talking about today takes the FNAF formula and completely flips it on its head, giving you the opportunity to decide how long the nights are and even introducing useful upgrades along the way. The game we'll be talking about today is Tealerland, a game I've been asked to talk about quite a few times, and a game I actually intended on covering sooner, but due to a bunch of other interesting fan games I've wanted to talk about, I've just been pushing this video off. But today, here we are to talk about it. So strap in and join me as we dive into the depraved world of Tealerland. Tealerland begins by putting us in the shoes of David Artell. Years back, us and our brother opened an amusement park called Tealerland. After a few years of running, the park shut down and Teal and David went their own separate ways. Years after the shutdown, we get an unexpected call from Teal. All he tells us is to find him at the park. So, not knowing what's going on, we make our way back to Tealerland, and this is where the fun can truly begin. Entering the park, we walk around and explore a little, finding some lore pages and oh shit! The fuck was that? In typical horror media fashion, as the main character, I'm going to choose to completely ignore what I just saw and chalk it up to myself seeing things. Continuing to search around the park, we eventually find a pile of garbage bags that look very out of place. Moving them, we find a hidden trapdoor. So what better choice to make than opening it and climbing straight down blindly instead of, oh, I don't know, going back home to our family and sleeping like a normal person? Of course, climbing down a ladder in a FNAF game isn't as simple as it sounds. Instead, it's made into a mini-game very reminiscent of the vent crawling section from Sister Location. Except this time around, there is actually a threat. Because yes, if you didn't know, you literally can't die in the vent section of Sister Location. That entire game is hot ass, and if you'd like to hear me talk about how bad it is in another video, let me know in the comments below. As we climb down the ladder, the first threat of this game is introduced. Tealer. As you climb down the ladder, Tealer can appear on either side. When he does, all you have to do is shine your flashlight at him and he'll go away. However, this game thought it would be really funny to make your flashlight have a startup time. So when you see Tealer, you'll kind of just have to awkwardly stare at him for 3 seconds while you wait for your flashlight to charge up and turn on, which just feels really goofy. So, now I have another question to ask you. How do you know a FNAF game is going to be really complicated before you even start? Well, in cases like Post Shift 2, it's walls of text explaining the mechanics that cause the game to feel so bloated it's not even fun. Well, what else? Let me tell you. There is quite literally nothing scarier than opening a FNAF game and seeing that there's a tutorial night. That's how you know the game you're about to play is going to have the most obtuse and random mechanics you've ever seen in your entire life, and Tealerland is no different. So, now's the time I get to explain to you the several tools at our disposal in a way that is hopefully not mind-numbingly boring. But hold up guys, I want to take a little break here to tell you that this video is sponsored by me. For those of you who didn't know, I have channel memberships. I would never ask anyone to do this as I don't even have any interesting perks attached, but if you really enjoy what I do and would like to support me a little bit extra, that's a great way to do it. Also, if you'd like to actually get something for your money in return, I have a merch store with some designs I commissioned from a fan, the same fan who actually drew these new character PNGs. So if you'd like to have my silly little demon character on your clothes, then that's a great place to go do that. And hey, if enough people end up liking that stuff, I will 100% get some more created in the future, and maybe even commission some more fan artists for some uniqueness in art styles. You can find the link to that in the description of this video. Sorry for the interruption, let's talk about Tealerland. To begin, there are 3 rooms that you can occupy: your office, the hallway, and the supplies room. Each does exactly what you'd probably expect. The office is where you'll do your major important operations, the supplies room is where you do important side objectives throughout the night, and the hallway connects those 2 rooms. Simple. To start, we need to understand how it is you actually complete a night in Tealerland, because it's not as simple as most FNAF games tend to be. Tealerland uses a task-based completion system rather than a time-based one, except, once again, Tealerland chooses to do something different than most task-based completion systems. The goal of Tealerland is to lure all of the animatronics in the building into a bunch of holding cells, and the way we do that is by taking control of another animatronic that's in the supply room. So the first thing you need to do each night is walk to the supply room and put the animatronic together. Its body parts can be found in the hallway and in the supply room itself. And if you want to hear something awesome, these body parts can apparently teleport at will, because you will commonly walk through the hallway, see nothing, walk into the supply room, see an arm, then walk back into the hallway and find a leg just chilling on the floor. Where did it come from? You tell me. Anyways, once you attach all 3 pieces to the robot, it will leave to roam the building. At this point, you can go back to your office and begin to control it. So, who was the first threat during the first hour of this game? Well, that would be Teeler himself. Really, since you won't often come into direct contact with the characters in this game, and you don't deal with them in a typical FNAF way, the way I'm going to choose to talk about these mechanics is going to be different than most of my videos. In order to lure Teeler, you have to get within a 1 tile's range of him. On your computer, you will see several map tiles, and about once every second you can move the T-Lure robot you built from 1 tile to another. Throughout that night, Teeler will naturally move around the building, with the goal of making it to your office. By making T-Lure get close to Teeler, a lure meter will start to increase. However, it's not just as simple as standing right next to him. Teeler has the ability to infect the lure, meaning that if you make the lure stand in one spot right next to Teeler for too long, he will infect it. So all you really have to do is make sure you move back and forth while trying to lure him. If Teeler does infect your lure, you'll have to go back to the supply room and hack the firewall of the robot, I think. I don't really know what it is we're doing, I'll be honest. Basically, when the lure is infected, go to the supply room and open up your firewall. Inside, there will be a list of files with one of them infected. You can tell which one is infected because it will have the prefix Zanny_. All you have to do is click on it and boom, you'll be able to control the lure again. Anyways, back to luring. Once Teeler's lure meter is completely full, he will begin to chase your lure. This is when you need to get Teeler to one of the holding cells and lock him inside. Once you've done that, you can safely check off your to-do list and end the hour. But before we can talk about ending the hour, we have a few more important things to talk about. The first of which being your health. No one character alone will be able to end your run in 1 jump scare. Each character has a certain damage stat, and they will deal that number of damage to you upon jump scaring you. Typically, it's 2 jump scares and it's game over. However, you do have a med kit inside the supply room, so if you ever get injured, just go there and do like the protagonist from Resident Evil and fix your injury with a bandage. So that brings up the question, how do the animatronics actually damage you if you're constantly moving them around? Great question. As I've already said, Teeler's main goal is to get to your office, so you'll commonly find him moving to the bottom of the map, as that is where the hallway to your office is located. If he gets to your hallway, your lure won't be able to reach him, and you'll have to defend yourself to make him enter the main room once again. You do not want to encounter Teeler in your hallway. So, if you suspect he's there, before you walk into the hallway, you can look through the keyhole of the door to your office. If he's in your hallway, you will see his eyes staring back at you. If this is the case, then you will need to quickly stop looking through the keyhole and wait until you hear Teeler leave. If you walk into the hallway or stare at him through the keyhole for too long, then he'll grip your hips and make you bounce on a crazy style. One last thing to note about Teeler is that he is the slowest character to lure, making him by far the most annoying character we'll deal with throughout the game.
With enough effort, you can take control of anything. An ability far more powerful than any other.
Now, before we continue on to the next hour, we need to talk about possibly the coolest thing that this game does. Teelerland has upgrades that you can unlock and equip. Do these make sense from a story standpoint? No, not really. But is it cool nonetheless? Yes. Yes, it is. After each hour, you'll be able to access the perk menu. There are 6 perks for you to choose from. After completing an hour for the first time, you'll get a perk point, and you can get 2 additional perk points for completing the hard mode version of each hour, which, yes, by the way, each hour has a hard mode version for you to complete. There's no real use talking about them since nothing besides the difficulty really changes, but I will mention one additional thing they add. Every time you go to the computer, you'll have to type in a 4-digit code. It's annoying, that's about it. Anyways, back to the perks. You have 2 rank 1 perks and 4 rank 2 perks. Rank 1 perks cost 2 perk points each, and rank 2 perks cost 4 perk points each. So it'll be up to you to decide how you want to distribute your points. However, there is a clear answer as to which perks are the best. Let's start by looking at the rank 1 perks. The first adds a longer lure infection cooldown when you use the firewall, meaning that it will take longer for your lure to be able to be infected again. And the second rank 1 perk makes it easier to spot which text file in your firewall is infected. Considering it is incredibly easy already to tell which one is infected, it's safe to say that picking this perk is pretty useless. Moving on to the rank 2 perks. The first one really makes my ass quake because of how delectable it is, allowing the speed at which you unlock holding cell doors to increase. Opening the doors does take a considerable amount of time, so being able to do it faster is crucial. The second rank 2 perk just increases your max HP to 130. But generally speaking, if you're not a retard while you play the game, you shouldn't be getting damaged that often, so this perk is an easy skip. The third rank 2 perk increases the range at which your lure will attract the animatronics. This is quite literally so goddamn cock-sucking good I can't describe it to you. To not have to get super close to the characters in order to lure them will save you pretty much all chances you will have at getting your lure infected in the first place. And finally, the fourth rank 2 perk makes your lure move around the building faster, which is actually so yummy mashed potatoes in my belly, I couldn't help but buy this faster than your mom buys DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, and Postmates subscriptions. Now, moving on to Hour 2, which introduces 2 new threats. Let's talk about the one that's a clone of Teeler first, Frill. Frill does pretty much the exact same thing as Teeler. You have to lure him into a holding cell and he can infect your lure. The only way he's different is how he goes about attacking your hallway. When Frill enters your hallway, he will quickly make his way to the door of whichever room you're in and make a noticeable sound cue. When he does, you'll have to look through the keyhole. Once he makes eye contact with you, he'll turn into a little piss baby and move back into the main room. What about the other threat? The one that isn't just an easier version of Teeler? Well, let me introduce you to Willow the Magician. Willow does not give a fuck about your lure, to put it bluntly. She will pile drive right towards your door with no hesitation. However, she is also probably the easiest threat to deal with in this entire game. When Willow enters your hallway, all you have to do is stare her down. Apparently, she's a little autistic and doesn't like eye contact. So all you have to do is make her incredibly uncomfortable in public situations where there are plenty of people around, yet somehow she still manages to feel unsafe because you're staring right at her. However, if you see her in the hallway and exit the hall or take too long to go into the hall, all of a sudden she'll start acting the way she was acting in the DMs and tear your ass to bits.
His machines have far greater potential than what they were made for, sitting in this facility, rotting away. I will put them back together.
Hour 3 introduces another copy and paste character. However, I don't feel like she's that big of an issue. The character in question being Tacy. Tacy is quite literally identical to Frill. She must be lured into a holding cell, can infect your lure, and is even dealt with in the hallway in the exact same way. The only major difference is that she's a lot quieter. She'll still make sound cues, but the chances of you actually hearing them are pretty low. This night does really start to bring into question how hard this game has the possibility of being. Since we obviously can't lure all 3 characters at the same time, it is very likely that at this point of the game we will pretty consistently have someone in our hallway. And with 2 of these characters requiring us to stare at them through a keyhole to deal with, it makes it a hell of a lot more likely that Willow will plow us in the ass. However, I do need to give Teelerland credit where credit is due. Although this game may sound like it can be incredibly unfair, this is honestly one of the most enjoyable FNAF experiences I've ever had. Even at the few frustrating bits I had, which you can see over on my second channel, Dxtr Black, I still found myself excited to play the next hour, and even found myself really wanting to complete the hard mode versions of the night, both to unlock the points and perks, and because it's genuinely just a super fun gameplay loop. Don't mind if I do. Done. I'm just too fucking good. I'm just too fucking good. Wahoo. It's the exact same excitement I got when playing Juniors for the first time, and Juniors ended up being one of the longest running series on the Dxtr Black channel.
They were meant to be taken apart, modified, tampered with. He should have known. One day it would all be compromised.
Hour 4 introduces a brand new threat to the mix with a new mechanic we haven't seen yet, so strap in. The threat introduced on this night is Mischievous. He does not have to be lured, and like Willow, does not give a shit about it anyways. He will lurk around your halls and wait to attack. When he enters your hall, his music box will begin to play. When you hear his music box, you cannot leave the room you're currently in or he will force himself on you. And this guy is really ugly, and you don't want that. After his music box finishes playing, he will leave a little doll in the room opposite of the one you're already in. You will then have to quickly move into that other room, find the doll, and click on it before the doll decides to do a little dance on it. Friction shit. This of course brings up the obvious issue. We have a character that forces us to switch rooms very quickly, and with several characters attacking our hall that require us to wait and be patient for us to leave, this could very obviously pose a pretty big threat if we were to get some poor attack timings. Once again, really showing how difficult, annoying, and RNG based this game can be.
One more step until the plan is complete. The clock is ticking.
Night 5 introduces nothing new. However, there is a very crucial mechanic I forgot to mention so far. Something that will make your dick hurt, because it certainly made mine hurt. Earlier in this game, a new mechanic was introduced, your generator, which adds a power system to the program you use to control your lure robot. On the map, you will be able to see where the generator is, and you'll also be able to see how much percentage it is at. You obviously don't want that meter to drop down to 0, so how do you fill it? Well, that's pretty simple. At the beginning of each hour, along with the generator, some fuel will spawn somewhere randomly on the map. And when the generator gets low, you'll have to use the lure to go get it and refill the generator. This isn't a hard thing to do by any means, but when you're also trying to juggle everything else that's going on, which trust me, there is a lot of, this will very quickly become something you dread doing.
It is complete. I've fixed them. I have made them perfect. They are all together now. They are now one. It will lure the beast out of his cage.
Well, oh boy, that doesn't sound good. But I mean, what's the worst that could happen? It's not like they're gonna take every character we've seen so far and merge them into one giant terrifying abomination and throw us into a new game mode that we haven't seen so far and have us learn from scratch, right? Oh, word. Shit is snowing. What's going on here? Oh, Something tells me it is most certainly not okay. What the hell did I just see? What the fuck is that? Okay, so shit. That's exactly what's happening. Well, what do we have in store for us this time? For some reason, we're in a fucking dank cave. Not really sure why, but we are. And on top of that, there's a computer down in this cave. Again, not really sure why, but we roll with it, I guess. The goal of this finale hour is to destroy what this game calls Deterrent, which, yes, is every single character we've seen so far merged into one giant terrifying abomination. The way we go about destroying this thing is actually pretty cool and does literally feel like a boss fight, unlike most FNAF games that introduce boss fights. To start, let's talk about how Deterrent attacks, as it's pretty simple. There are two entrances to the room you're in behind you. Occasionally, you'll be able to hear him approach you from behind, and when he does, all you have to do is whip around and hold your flashlight on him. Which, yes, by the way, does have a battery life, so that's fun. Anyways, now to how we beat him. On the computer, we can see 4 rooms. Each room has a generator in it. When you hold the generator down, it will start to charge up. When it reaches 100%, it will explode. I'm sure you can see where we're going with this. You'll be able to see the deterrent moving around on the map. However, while you're charging a generator, for some reason, you go blind, which serves to make it more difficult to track deterrent, but also just literally makes no sense from a gameplay standpoint. But regardless, once you have a generator almost full, you will need to open the door to the generator's room. This will make the deterrent enter the room, but he won't stay in the room for very long, which is why you should already have the generator borderline completely charged by the time you invite him in. Obviously, once he's in, blow that bitch sky high and deal some damage. Then do this 3 more times, and congrats, you've won. Fucking moron, he did it 4 times! Ooh, what the hell? Where am I going? Oh. We fucking did it. Oh shit. What's gonna happen here? Oh damn. Oh. Oh, we climbing back out of this bitch. Hell yeah, we are. Oh shit. Oh shit, we made it out of this bitch. Uh-oh. Don't tell me that Dxtr's still alive out there. Oh, what the fuck was that? Why is it so loud all of a sudden? Oh, that whole fucking place. Oh shit, he tried to crawl out. He tried to crawl out up after me. Get the fuck away. Who you think you is?
Don't you despise me? Don't you want me gone?
I don't really care.
All the times I tried to fix your wrongdoings,
I'm kind of indifferent.
I have already lost.
Yeah, you did.
Go ahead, David.
What?
Free from this place.
Oh shit, there was a dude in there. There was a dude in there, bro. Gulp. Brutally slaughtered. Wait, did you tell me I just killed a fucking dude down there? Like it wasn't even a robot? I just killed a dude? Is that what you're saying? Trying to understand here. Oh shit. That is disco, bro. Tealerland. No, that was badass. That was a badass game, bro. I can't even front with you. And just like that, we have completion. David puts an axe through the Dxtr's head, and we have game over. Except one where we look like a badass. But the story of Tealerland is far more interesting than just that. It begins with two brothers, long before the lights of Tealerland ever flickered on. Teal Artel and David Artel built their company from nothing, a small business that slowly grew into something bigger, something sharper. And at the peak of that momentum, the brothers opened an amusement park attraction. Something simple, something fun, something that, at the time, didn't feel like it carried any real weight. That attraction was called Tealerland. For a while, it was nothing more than a strange little corner of the Artel brothers' world, a pet project tucked into the side of a much larger dream. Families came and went, the park buzzed with life, and nobody thought of it as anything more than a novelty. But places like this don't stay harmless forever, not when the people running them drift apart. Not when one of them starts slipping into ideas that don't belong in an amusement park. Eventually, Teal and David's partnership cracked. The company fractured, and not long after, Tealerland shut down completely. No public explanation, no clean ending. The gates closed, the lights went out, and the attraction was left to rot under its own dust. When the world moved on, the Artel brothers went their separate ways. One of them tried to rebuild his life. The other vanished. Years passed before David Artel heard from his brother again. Out of nowhere, Teal reached out to him, a voice from a past he thought he'd buried, begging David to return to the old amusement park. The message didn't make sense. It didn't sound like the Teal he once knew, but there was fear in it, desperation, something that made David realize he couldn't ignore it. And so, against every instinct telling him to stay away, he went back. When David arrived, Tealerland was worse than abandoned. It felt staged, silent in a way that didn't feel natural. Half-crumbled structures, props left in strange positions, as if the place hadn't simply been forgotten, but deliberately prepared for someone. And as he wandered deeper into the park, trying to find his brother, he stumbled across something that confirmed it. A hidden entrance leading down into the earth, tracing beneath the park itself. David's company, the one he and Tealer built together, had been hiding an entire facility underneath the attraction. A whole underground complex, sealed off from the public long before Tealerland ever closed. A place where their past hadn't just been stored, it had been left alive. Once inside, David realized this wasn't just a forgotten workplace. The lights still worked, the systems still responded, and something else was awake down there with him. something that didn't want him leaving. As he pushed further into the complex, the truth started to bleed through in fragments. Teal had been down here. Recently, he'd been working with the animatronics again, repairing them, rewiring them, bringing pieces of a dead attraction back to life. But whatever he had been doing, it wasn't for entertainment anymore. The machines began to move on their own, stalking the halls, watching David, responding like something had trained them toward him specifically. None of this was accidental. None of this was the result of some wandering malfunction. Teal had built an entire scenario deep underground, a controlled maze, a sequence of escalating encounters, leading David step by step through the remnants of their old work. Every hour that passed in the facility dragged him closer to the heart of the place, and closer to Teal's intentions, and along the way, David discovered something he had always kept buried. The truth about what happened years ago, about the employee who died, about the body that David hid, and about what that one terrible decision did to Teal's mind. When Teal finally emerged, no longer the person David once knew, but someone warped by grief, guilt, and obsession, David realized the entire journey through Tealerland had been orchestrated. Teal didn't bring David here to save him, he brought him here to force a reckoning between them. Surrounded by the machines that represented everything that went wrong in their lives. The final confrontation wasn't between man and animatronic, it was between brother and brother. One consumed by the past, the other trying desperately to bury it. And in the end, the fight ended the only way it could. David killed Teal. Not out of malice, not out of hatred, but out of a moment where survival became the only option left. When it was over, the facility fell silent. The machines powered down, and as David surfaced from the underground, authorities arrived. They didn't see a man who'd been hunted. They didn't see the twisted maze his brother designed. All they saw was David Artell standing over the body of his own brother. He was arrested, charged, and locked away. And just like that, Tealerland, the amusement park, the secrets beneath it, the broken partnership that created all of it, was left behind again. This time buried under police tape and unanswered questions. A dead attraction built on dead ideas, reclaimed once more by silence. And with that, as far as I'm aware, is all that Tealerland has to offer. Overall, I think this game was a ton of fun to play. It's not often that a FNAF game has me wanting to try and 100% it, but just like Junior's, Tealerland had me wanting to give it a try. The character designs are amazing, the atmosphere and story are phenomenal, and of course, the gameplay loop is one of the most enjoyable I've ever played. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think Tealerland is actually just forgettable garbage? Let me know in the comments below. In my Project Readjusted video, I asked you guys which FNAF cliche you'd like to see removed, and my favorite answer was this one by Dragon S Ether. They said the cliche of dead bodies stuffed in suits, and I totally agree. I think we can all agree that the reason a game like Graveyard Shift at Freddy's is so scary is because the animatronics aren't possessed. So seeing other games find interesting explanations as to why the robots are alive would be really cool. Polish in Five Nights at Freddy's games. What do you think makes a game polished? Maybe it's clean graphics, a good story, or perfect balancing? Well, of course, the answer is obviously all of these things together. And today, we're going to be talking about a game incredibly polished. The game in question is Saturday Night at Freddy's, one of the newest FNAF fan games to come out this year, with a lot of hype behind it. I can promise you that it definitely lives up to all of it. Strap in because we've got a lot to talk about. So join me today as we dive into the world of Saturday Night at Freddy's. Before we even start talking about what's actually inside of this game, we need to mention the opening cutscene that this game has. We're in the POV of what I can only imagine is inside of a Freddy suit. We see something close the door to the room we're in. I have no idea what this is, but it does look very interesting, to say the least. We look around for a while and then the cutscene ends and we're booted into the menu only to hear literally the best menu music I've ever heard since Chica's Party World. I'm not kidding. This game has some of the best music you will ever hear. It's so fucking good. But of course, now it's time for us to actually dive into the game. Psych! stupid idiot moron. There's yet another cutscene before the actual game starts. In it, we see the newspaper, as most FNAF games tend to have, and there's actually some voice acting, which I will admit I'm a pretty big fan of. Basically, there's this girl who we play as who is behind on rent. She says a guy named Benny disappeared and she never wanted to go back to Freddy's. Who the fuck is Benny? I have no idea, but whatever. She ends up going back to Freddy's because that sounded like a better option than being a stripper, and OnlyFans didn't quite exist yet in this timeline. And now we can jump into the first night, which, by the way, the newspaper also says the job pays $30 a night, which is actually just robbery. I'd rather be poor. But hold up, guys. I gotta interrupt again to tell you all that we officially are partnering with Makeship again to bring you an all-new Romeo Skaggs plushie, baby! You guys absolutely loved the first Skaggs plush that we released a few months ago, and I've been getting messages from you guys showing me that the new plushies have finally arrived. And since our last campaign did so well, Makeship wanted to work with me again. No petition this time. Just go to the link in my description to pick up your very own Romeo Skaggs. He'll be there for you when the Huzz aren't, which, let's be honest, is probably all the time. And I'll make a deal with you guys. If we can get this Romeo Skaggs plushie to get 1,000 sales by the end of the campaign, we will release another plushie of Skaggs in a maid dress, since I know that's something a lot of you freaks have been wanting. And our last plush almost sold 800, so I know that this is a milestone that we can hit. What are you waiting for? Go to the link in my description and cop yourself the new Romeo Skaggs for when you're having those lonely nights. Thanks again for all of your guys' support. I wouldn't be where I was today if it wasn't for you. Now, let's get back to the video. Sorry for interrupting. Twice. We get to watch an informational tape before the night begins, which really just explains how to deal with the first threat. But a little detail I noticed is that when this tape cuts to static, we get to see the faint outline of a certain golden bear. Anyways, moving on to the night section. We get a phone call on this night, but it's pretty worthless. The only interesting thing he says is that there are rumors that the animatronics are possessed. Who would have thought? Something interesting about this game is that it goes by hours instead of nights like Locked at Freddy's, and this game starts at 1 a.m. instead of 12 a.m., so that's cool. Moving on to the tools at our disposal, we do have quite a bit to talk about. Let's start by talking about the camera system, since it's a little bit different from what we're used to seeing. To start, it's powered by old-ass fuses, which is giving me flashbacks of Swing Shift at Farley's. The PTSD I have from this channel and making these videos is insane, by the way. Anyways, the camera has 2 fuses. Only one fuse can decrease power at a time. You'll have to switch fuses throughout the night to stop yourself from losing power. When you switch, the fuse you're not using will be slowly charged. You can also charge them a little faster manually. Pretty simple. Something I love, except I'm lying and I actually hate, is that the cameras don't have a map, and you have to manually cycle through them, memorizing where everything is by tap patterns, which is just always something I personally dislike doing in these games. But whatever, I guess I'll just have to put on my big boy pants and deal with it. Your fuses can also become overloaded, but I'll talk more about that when it becomes relevant. There are 3 entrances to our office, which really just makes me feel like I'm a little monkey in a zoo being watched from all angles. To our left, we have a door that we can hold closed. Pretty standard FNAF stuff, if you ask me. In front of us is a window with a wooden sliding door that we can also hold shut. And to our right, we have a giant gaping vent like my butthole after burrito night. You can't close this vent, which is just the worst thing in the entire world. I swear, only vents in FNAF games don't have covers on them. This is so stupid. Of course, we have a flashlight that we can use to blind the children in the play area when they get too rowdy. It has no battery life, so you don't have to worry about that. One other thing to note about the office is that you can see a clock in the deepest, darkest corner of the fucking room that you can barely see. And when you hover your mouse over it, it'll obviously tell you what time it is. And I said that each hour in this game is equivalent to a normal FNAF night, so it'll look like it's moving a lot slower than other games. Alright, with all of that out of the way, we can move on to talking about the totally wonderful threats this night introduces, as it adds 2 characters to start off the show. This is actually something I prefer from other FNAF games. I get the idea of only wanting to introduce 1 character a night, and while I think that's good in practice, I do think the first night shouldn't only have 1 character. Just because this community has gotten so used to these types of games that night 1s tend to be boring. Unless it's a game like Juniors or After Hours at Cody's, which adds something something completely different to the loop, then you can get away with only introducing one a night. But I don't make the rules. Do whatever the fuck you want with your games. This is just my opinion, which for some reason I have to say out loud because people are retarded. Anyways, moving on. Hour 1 introduces Endo, which is an endoskeleton, and Freddy, surprisingly. Usually they don't bust that big busty boy out until later in the game, but hey, I'm all for it. Let's start by talking about Freddy since he's more simple. Freddy will walk around the bar. Yes, by the way, the building we're in is a bar, so I can get absolutely crunk whenever I want to, which is just amazing. Hey, you come here often?
Fuck you!
Okay. Anyways, Freddy will make his way to your left door. Once he gets there, all you have to do is close it, obviously, until he slams his ass against it, and then you can open it again. But the attack isn't over quite yet. He has a chance after attacking your door to walk up to your window with a sick-ass animation that I'm in love with. Please keep doing animations like this. It makes me so happy, guys. But of course, if he does come over to the window, all you have to do is close that as well until he slams his penis into it like a baseball bat. But instead of a baseball bat, it's his penis, like I just said. Holy shit, I think I'm losing it. These jokes don't even make sense anymore. I'm just saying shit, bro. Something about Freddy, however, that really tickles me red, get it? As opposed to tickle me pink, which is like a saying for when you're flustered or something. No? Okay, I'll just kill myself. Anyways, he makes no sound cue when he gets to your door, and you can't just naturally see him there without flashing your light there, which is literally just the most annoying thing in the world. I think I've been spoiled too much from playing games with sound cues that now when there aren't any, it just feels wrong and evil and cruel. The next one introduced is the endoskeleton I mentioned earlier. He works in pretty much word for word, bar for bar, the exact same way as Freddy with a few minor differences. To start, when he attacks your door like Freddy, he will never walk to the window right afterwards, except he does have a separate attack where he attacks your window directly. As opposed to Freddy's window attack, Endo has 3 phases in your window before you're actually in danger of him killing you. If you close the window before he reaches the 3rd phase, it will stall Endo in place. So you really just want to wait until he's trying to sneak a peek in your pants before you close the window on him. Strategy on this night is obviously easy. Just close shit when you need to. Both Freddy and Endo can attack you at the same time, but because Endo has multiple window phases, just deal with Freddy first and it's GG, no problem. And of course, Freddy will never go to the window without attacking your door first. Saturday Night at Freddy's has no post-night minigames. However, it does have a post-hour cutscene, which actually adds a feeling of realism to the world. In this post-1 a.m. cutscene, our character goes to the phone to call for help because obviously the robots are trying to kill her. I can't believe it took the community this many years to make a character who isn't retarded and doesn't want to be here. The phone doesn't end up working and she obviously panics and says she doesn't want to walk around the bar while the characters are roaming, which is also incredibly fair, and I would probably think the same thing too. This is undoubtedly the safest place for the time being. So with that, let's move on to hour 2. Moving on to hour 2, we've got 2 new threats to talk about. Honestly, I'm a little surprised we've already got 4 characters to deal with, but hey, I'm all for it. Who could it be? I don't know why I'm asking you guys this question. I'm the one doing the review. I should probably tell you. Bonnie and Foxy. It's Bonnie and Foxy that are introduced during this hour. Let's start by talking about Foxy since he makes my blood boil. And I happen to piss blood most of the time, so it really just makes that experience very unpleasant. More so than pissing blood by itself already is. Foxy has 2 ways to attack you. On top of that, he's also an eye slut, which just makes me want to smother an owl. The first way he'll attack is pretty simple. He'll charge at your door and just kind of stare at you. Nothing crazy about that. Once he gets into your office, all you have to do is make sure you don't look at him because he has autism and eye contact makes him uncomfortable. Now, his other attack is interesting. First of all, I should mention that Foxy is in a box. Why do they lock him away like some feral fucker? Well, that's probably because he's a feral fucker. Call him Foxy the Pirate Software. Anyways, he'll start doing a little jiggy inside of his box. Of course, if you're not looking at him, he's gonna move. This second attack has him go for your vent. Once Foxy enters your vent, a sound cue will play. Thank God, I guess it's just Freddy who's an asshole about that then. When you see him in the vent, what you have to do is really weird and was incredibly confusing to figure out, as the game has a little bit of post-shift 2 syndrome and chooses not to fucking tell you what it is you have to do, so that's just wonderful. What you have to do when you see Foxy in your vent is go into the cameras and spam click the fuse power button to overload your fuses. I don't really understand why this makes Foxy go away, but it does, so just do it. The other threat introduced on this night is Bonnie, who is pretty simple overall. Bonnie only has one way of attacking, but it will really feel like 3 separate ways. I know that doesn't make sense, but shut the fuck up, I'm about to explain it to you. Bonnie can attack any of the 3 entrances to your office. When he shows up in either your door, window, or vent, all you have to do is hold your flashlight on him and he'll go away. I really wish it was more interesting, but it really isn't. That is what I would say if his window attack wasn't just a little bit different. When Bonnie chooses to attack the window, you will both be able to see him and hear him walking across the window over to your door. When he's doing this, you obviously still have to hold the light on him, but you have to be fast enough and do it before he reaches the left side of the window. Is this any different than his other attacks? No, it's just the same thing except there's an animation, but it looks cool, so I'm gonna talk about it anyways. Now we get to talk about the post-night 2 minigame, which I know I said there wasn't any post-night minigames. I don't know how you guys haven't figured out that I constantly fucking lie to you, but I'm lying again. Anyways, for some reason this game calls it the post-hour 1 minigame. It's literally post-hour 2, but fuck it, we ball. In this minigame, we get a checklist of things we have to do before the night ends. It's really just deleting files, but of course, we've got some threats to deal with as well, so let's go over those. There are 3 threats throughout this minigame. The first of which I'll talk about is Foxy. He attacks from the entrance on your left. You can flash this hallway, and that should make it pretty obvious what it is you have to do to stop him. But if it isn't blatantly obvious, all you have to do is flash him to push him backwards. Pretty simple. Also, when you flash this hallway, you can get a glance at a poster that's a reference to another fan game called 5 Newfangled Nights, which I've actually talked about on this channel before, and you should definitely watch that video after this one. The next threat to talk about is Freddy, who obviously attacks from the other side of you. He's a lot simpler in my opinion. Occasionally you'll hear him giggle right in your ear, and all you have to do in response is just look in his direction, since he's a fat femboy and doesn't like being stared at. So that'll make him go away. Now, I said all you have to do is delete files, and doing so is incredibly simple. Just open your computer and drag the files into the recycling bin. Now, I did say there were 3 threats, and we've only talked about 2. The third threat is a virus that is present inside of the computer that will try to prevent you from deleting files. All you have to do is close the fucking thing and it'll go away. Very simple. It's not a very interesting minigame, but I do really appreciate it when fan games add them, since it pulls away from the central focus of the game, which I do think is necessary sometimes. But hooray! Hour 3 time, and it's about to get crazy. Hour 3 is when I feel this game actually starts to get difficult, as it introduces one of the most annoying characters in the entire game, Chica. I know, I thought it was weird too that Chica is introduced after Freddy and Foxy, but it's honestly pretty cool, as she probably has one of the coolest designs in this entire game. Chica does what I was really hoping this game wouldn't do to me, and that's add a find them on the camera mechanic. But uh-oh, that's exactly what Chica is, so I guess I'll just go fuck myself. Occasionally, Chica will seductively giggle in your ear, and even though I usually would be ecstatic at this thought, this game's Chica is fucking disgusting, and I really don't want to pipe that. When she giggles, she'll teleport to a random fucking camera, because of course she does, and you'll then have to find which camera she went to and just fucking stare at her until she leaves, because we've run out of mechanics for this game to throw at us, which is incredibly disappointing. Oh yeah, that's not all she does though. She does have another way to attack you. She basically just turns into Freddy minus 1 step. She can show up at your window, and all you have to do is hold it closed until she leaves. I personally find it a little weird why they also gave her this attack, but I'm not gonna complain, because at least that means she won't teleport to a camera every time she attacks, just most of the time. Again, this night really starts to amp up the difficulty quite a bit. But in all honesty, I find this game so fun that even though it adds a mechanic that makes me want to rub my willy with a rolling pin to flatten it out, I still found myself enjoying this playthrough, which is really weird for me. Anyways, after you complete this night, we find a newspaper clipping that reads the following. Freddy's is closing. Following the death of Benny Carter at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, the restaurant is permanently closing its doors. After 3 years of operation, this controversy proved too difficult for the company to overcome. Currently, the creators are discussing selling rights off at a local auction. Quote, "It's a tragedy what happened, really it is, but we must continue business as usual," end quote, the owner stated. All right, if you guys remember from the beginning, Benny went missing. I guess now it's been confirmed that he got ganked at the bar. I don't really care about that. I never met Benny. I don't care about Benny. What the fuck ever, bro. Let's just finish this fucking shift. All right, on to hour 4. We get to see another tape that explains the character, but fuck you, even though I want to show you these tapes because they're adorable, I also still need to do my job and explain what the characters do myself. There is only one threat introduced on this night. However, that brings the total up to like fucking 6 or something. I don't even know anymore. This character is Foxington, since I guess we can't think of any other animals to add, so we'll just say fuck it and add another fox. Foxington starts from the kitchen because she's a fat slut and makes her way to the office because that's where you are, and it's kind of hard to kill you without getting close to you. Her path is super linear from the kitchen. She'll go from left to right on the cameras, which makes it really confusing and hard to follow her. However, if she moves from the kitchen, you can overload the fuse in whichever room she's in, and that will make her go back a room, but obviously at the cost of overloading a fuse. Obviously, just don't let her get to your office and you're not gonna have a problem. She does have no sound cue when she moves, which really just makes me want to slam my dick in a car door, but what can you do, I guess? At the end of hour 4, something really interesting happens. We get the normal end screen, except that silly little bear clock we see will shatter and we'll get a cutscene. We enter a random room with the text on the wall foreshadowing a character by the name of Bite Bear. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I smell a boss fight night coming up soon. But for now, we can move on to the post-hour minigame. In this minigame, we're at an arcade cabinet for some reason. I thought our character didn't want to leave the office, but sure, whatever, I suppose. In this minigame, we play as Bonnie, and we have to serve a bunch of beer to Freddy because he's trying to get fucked up because his wife just left him. The goal is just to beat the high score of the game, which is very easy. However, as I'm sure you could have guessed, we also have some threats trying to terrorize us while we do this. The first threat during this minigame is Freddy. He makes a very loud laughing sound cue when he's close. When you hear it, all you have to do is pause the game until you hear him walk away. Pretty simple. Bonnie is the only other threat during this section. Bonnie has very big ass feet, so when he moves, it's very loud. When you hear him moving, you'll have to pause the game and turn to your left and hold your flashlight on him until he fucks off. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the scariest thing in this entire game, because just look at this guy and tell me he doesn't look like he's about to rape you, because I think it looks like he is. Look at those fucking soulless eyes, bro. Disgusting. Both Freddy and Bonnie can attack at the same time, and if they do, you'll want to deal with Freddy first. When you beat the high score, you'll hear Bonnie say something I don't fully understand. You'll have to deal with him one final time, and you'll see him turn and run away and knock over some shelves. When you look at the floor, you'll notice a Fredbear poster that just looks fucking disgusting. Like, seriously, bro, what kind of promotional material is this? Anyways, our character says that Fredbear was Benny's favorite, and I'm in shock that we're still wrapped up about this guy because who the fuck even is Benny? Bro, that's a terrible name, and he's dead, so just move on. Apparently, this poster also had a tape attached to it or something called Showtime 3693, which, if you're stupid, that is a date. And the tape goes as following.
Have you ever felt forgotten? Like you're a memory of something that once was. I don't even know what I'm a memory of. But I know why I'm a memory. You are not the only one who abandoned me. I remember back in the day, singing with the band. The kids didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know either. I was left to rot in that building. None of the ghost stories you've heard are real. That is not to say there are no ghosts at Freddy's. The others are no less of a machine than the computer you watch them on, but I'm not like them. I'm so much more. You know, it's not easy to keep yourself from insanity when all you hear is screams. But those screams are like music now. I enjoy making new friends. I find their screams intoxicating. I don't blame you for what happened. In fact, I think we can still be friends till the end. What you say we play a little game, like old times?
So, yeah, that was disturbing. Very disgusting graphics, I won't lie. But as I'm sure you could guess, that game he's talking about is in reference to Hour 5, which is so fucking cool. Let's jump right into it. Hour 5 is cool. At the start of the night, all of the characters will be active. However, at some point, they will all go away and you'll be faced with only the boss that this night has to offer. Of course, Bite Bear. Bite Bear has 5 different ways of attacking you and one universal sound cue for all of them, which is a bit annoying, but I promise this boss fight is fucking awesome. Also, I need to mention how fucking insane the music for this boss fight is because holy shit, it's so goddamn cool. Bite Bear's first attack has him attack your left door and window. When this happens, you need to hold your flashlight on him and then close the door once he starts boogieing it down in your doorway. The same thing goes for the window. His second attack has him attack the vent, which in my opinion is the scariest one because just look, like, holy shit, this is terrifying. All you have to do when he's in your vent is flash your light at him and then turn away. A little underwhelming, sure, but it's still super cool. His third attack actually has him enter the fucking office, which is just so cool. He basically turns into Rat from Five Nights at Candy's 3. All you have to do is hold your mouse on his face 4 times. I say 4 times because he will move his head away from your mouse and will sometimes even jump to the other side of the office. This is 100% my favorite attack from him, without a doubt. His fourth attack will have him scream like a banshee. And now, just guess for me what happens. I'll give you a little hint. I'm a nice guy. I'm a kind, generous individual. I'll give you a little hint. This attack is a mechanic that makes me want to skin a baby alive. What's that? Huh? Did you say find them on the cameras? Well, guess what? You're fucking right, because of course it is. God fucking damn it, kill me! The craziest part, he can use this fucking attack at the same time as all of his other attacks! Fucking why? For what purpose was that part added? Just to make the whole thing so much fucking worse! This game has been so fucking good, but no! Every time I start liking something, the dev has to pull their fucking pants down and just shit in my fucking mouth! Fucking shit! Fuck me in my ass! Find my fucking balls, bitch! I'm gonna split my scrotum open and hit my balls with a hammer so they split into little pieces! And then I'm gonna sprinkle them on all the fucking cameras and tell you to go fucking find them all! Fuck! Fuck! Okay, I'm all right now. Fuck. Anyways, once you find him, just overload the fuse and that's it. All right, now let's move on to his final attack. Bite Bear will send some little goons into your office. I have no idea what the fuck they actually are, but they'll jump onto your screen like the Minarinas from Dxtr location. Apparently, they're hallucinations, which if they are, I don't even know why we have to deal with them at all, but fuck it, sure. When they're on your screen, you'll have to spam A and W a fuck ton to make them go away. That's really about it. I think this is probably his weakest attack, either this or the vent attack, but the vent attack looks badass, so it gets some pity points. This boss fight is honestly one of the coolest fights I've ever seen from a fan game. It's so fun to play through, and the music during it is amazing. It doesn't do anything new or innovative, but it really does feel like an actual fight for your life, which I think is really cool. But as the fight goes on, the hallucinations start to get to you and your vision slowly fades to black. As you look around the office, Bite Bear gets in and grabs you, but as he's about to kill you, fucking Freddy shows up and decapitates him. What the fuck? I literally have no idea why he did that. My only possible guess is that maybe Benny possessed Freddy and that was him protecting you. But if that was the case, then why was Freddy attacking us the whole time? I don't fucking know. This part doesn't make sense, but that doesn't stop it from being badass. We run out of the building and jump into our car. And as we drive off, we see Freddy standing at the door waving us goodbye like he wasn't just trying to eat our ass 4 hours ago. The cutscene transitions into the claymation look we've seen throughout the tapes. The The animatronics all celebrate for some reason, probably because the security guard left or because Bite Bear's dead. I don't really know, but they all go back to the office only to find the corpse of a child hidden inside of the Bite Bear costume. We get one final newspaper clipping explaining that the body was of Benny and that 2 other victims were also found inside the bar that have been decomposing for several years. So that means Benny wasn't in the Freddy suit. So why the fuck did Freddy kill Bite Bear? That's a question I don't think anybody except the developer has the answer to. And I know a lot of the developers end up watching my reviews of their games, so bro, if you want to explain that ending to us in the comments, we'd all greatly appreciate it because I'm confused as fuck. The credits are pretty cool. We're in the POV of a Freddy costume and we look around while the credits roll. But I'm not quite done talking about this game as it does have some fun post-game content to talk about, which, as you probably know, tends to be my favorite part of literally any game I play. Hey, recording Dxtr here. It just occurred to me that flashback at the start that we saw, like the first cutscene where we're in a suit and someone closes the door on us, I'm just realizing I didn't actually write about what that is, but I'm pretty sure that's probably like Benny, I'm guessing, in the Bite Bear suit. As to what we saw close the door, I don't fucking know the answer to that one. The first custom challenge night is called Gone Fishin', which only gives you a flashlight, cameras, and a mask. You might be asking yourself, Dxtr, what the fuck are you talking about? A mask? You never mentioned that. And trust me, I know that. That's because this challenge is the first time it shows up. And during this challenge, Freddy isn't present because he took our fucking doors. Yes, I'm not kidding. We don't have any doors. He took the doors. It says that on the challenge mode. He took our fucking doors on a fishing trip. Why? That doesn't make... The fuck he gonna use doors for? The fuck? He go Titanic on the goddamn lake. Fucking using... Took my goddamn... Fuck off. Taking my goddamn doors. Get the hell out of here, bro. So instead, they replaced the doors with a mask. And the mask has a toxicity meter that prevents you from keeping it on all night. The mask is literally just the door. Just like every time there's a door mechanic, it just replaces it with the mask one. I don't know why this matters. It could have just been the fucking... I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyways, the next challenge is called Fuse You Lose, which uses Bonnie, Foxy, and Foxington, who, as you can tell, are the only characters that use your fuses. And in this challenge, you can only override your fuses 10 times. So have fun with RNG. This challenge sucks ass. Another round is a challenge that is just the prelude to the Bite Bear fight, so it's pretty fucking boring. However, Bite-Mare is insane and is just this game's all-20 mode, nothing super special. The final challenge to talk about is Wacky Saturday. It takes a page out of Crawlspace's book and inverts your fucking shit. Your vision stays the same, but your mouse will be completely inverted throughout the whole night. That's literally it. Just the most frustrating shit of all time. Mazel tov. Oh yeah, and something about Bite-Mare that's really cool. After you complete it, you get this cutscene.
Okay, what now?
There's a few boxes over here, and... What's that?
I don't know. But we shouldn't move it. The company said only the main stage animatronics get moved.
Weird, but fair enough.
Anyways, let's just get what we have so far, and bring it over to the new place.
So 2 people go to move shit around, Bite Bear murks their asses, and then presumably climbs into the back of a truck. Why the fuck does he do this? I have no idea, and the game doesn't tell you, so I don't care. Ja сказал мне плевать, сука. But with that, that's all Saturday Night at Freddy's has to offer. Overall, I think this game is fantastic. Crazy character designs, probably the best soundtrack I've ever heard since Undertale, and a story that I don't understand, but I can try to forget about that part. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me, or do you think that this game is actually just straight dookie booty? Let me know in the comments below. In my flip side video, I asked you guys what FNAF game you think needs a remaster and why, and my favorite answer was this one by Hevetel 2.0. They said Those Nights at Rachel's, and I agree because honestly that game is super underwhelming. You should watch my video about it after this one. The question of this video is, who is your biggest FNAF animatronic? Hear me out, and why? With the question of the video being asked, subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it a lot. Thank you to these 3 talented artists for your fan art. You can submit yours on the Discord, link in the description. Thank you to all of my superfan channel members. You guys keep my rent paid. I've been Dxtr, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!